Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Live and direct, ladies and gentlemen. Live and direct, ladies and gentlemen. You are live at the Los Angeles Tribune Global Book Lovers celebration. So we have expanded the National Book Lovers Day on August 9 and turned it into a whole week from national to global. We have had the greatest speakers and authors of all times, from Sharon Lecter to Mark Victor Hansen, still coming up. We have Ben Gay III coming up, the only living protege of Napoleon Hill. So let me tell you, if you have Napoleon Hill lovers out there, this is the time you share this post. This is historical. This is the only living protege of Napoleon Hill who actually was in the presence of Napoleon Hill. You could imagine this. The book of Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, was originally published. I don't think if that's the original, but the edition that I know is about 1935, 1936. And this man that's going to come in our broadcast today, interviewed by also a critically acclaimed best-selling author of the Los Angeles Tribune, Rex Sikes, for his book, Life on Your Terms. He will be interviewing the only living protege. By going back to those who have been featured so far as the top authors here at the Global Book Lovers Summit, we also had Mars, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Who's that author? John Gray, right? And we also have 1 Minute Millionaire author and the author of yes, we're seeing people tell us where they're from, where they're watching from. So tell us where you're watching from. But we have also had the breakthrough publisher that made publishing, the modern publishing possible. Who's that? Robert Allen. So he was also here. You could watch that on day one. We also had, I could go through the number of people. Dr. Joe Vitale, who has written over 95 books by now, Zero Limits Living, and he's got his movies, Zero Limits, about to come to the theater soon. Just had a red carpet movie premiere recently that the Los Angeles Tribune covered in Northern California. Also, we had Magical Women. Diana Zimmerman, the woman who's in charge of the junior magician program of the Magic Castle in Hollywood, a premier magic community club. For 50 years. She's been the head of it for 50 years. Also she's a 4-time best-selling author. So we had 32-time best-selling authors in here. Today, I am excited to bring to you something that is so historical that we are so proud to actually bring into the Los Angeles Tribune. Never before has, in the recent years at least, been a direct living protege of Napoleon Hill, been interviewed. And this is so nostalgic because he's going to talk about the memory lane. If you've been, passionate for the Earl Nightingale era, he's going to be talking about he's going to be talking about the era where the personal development was just emerging. It was just coming up. Imagine this, like 1935, 1940, 1950. This is what we're talking about. And this is so precious because it's not something that you could hear. And unless it was actually documented and recorded here, it could go away, like nobody would know. So we're excited to bring to you the interview of Rex Sikes with Ben Gay III. And I see we've got We've got comments in there. I want to acknowledge all of you who are watching with us. I know that it is the middle of the week and you have been watching us for 4 days now. I want to acknowledge our CEO, Mo Rock, who always gives voices to those who get to have their message go out to the world. So I acknowledge our CEO, Mo Rock, for opening up the platform, even for books, for authors. Upcoming, just one day left, we have the Los Angeles Tribune Film Festival in Orange County. It's by San Diego. It's just a few minutes from San Diego. It's between San Diego and Los Angeles. So if you are in Southern California, if you are in Arizona, if you are within flying distance from Orange County, you don't want to miss this. I promise you, this is the best flight you will take, the best investment you will make. And if you go to latribunefilmfestival.com, it is so generous. Nowhere would you be able to be in the presence of producers, filmmakers, actors, actresses, and it's star-studded in terms of the people that are producing movies and really are investing in movies now, because Los Angeles Tribune is also pioneering the idea, the thought process of turning books into films. We have 2 films that are coming up at the Los Angeles Tribune, at the LA Tribune Film Division, with Donna Campbell being our director and producer. And those are ideas that came from books. Those are movies that came from books. And now we are exploring several documentaries coming up that are also, combined books. So Books to Film, come to the film festival. It's going to be at Orange County, August. It's just in 2 days, August 14, 15, 16. And we'd love to see you there. LATribuneFilmFestival.com. Okay, so now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me just put a commercial, and then we'll have Rex Sikes join you with Mr. Ben Gay III, the only living protege of Napoleon Hill. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Ben Gay. Ben is the last living protege of Napoleon Hill. That means right prior to Napoleon leaving this planet, Ben benefited from his tutelage, his mentorship. And I'm going to let Ben tell you more about that. But not only that, Ben is an expert and authority in sales and closing and all manner of anything that has to do with influence and persuasion. So I'm going to bring Ben up right now because he's a leader in so many different arenas. In fact, maybe this whole arena, this whole personal development field that we're in is due to Mr. Ben Gay and some of the people that he participated with back 4 or 5 decades ago. So Ben, Mr. Ben Gay, it's so good to have you here, my friend. How are you?
I'm fine, Rex. Thank you for welcoming me. I look forward to this. Have been looking forward to it for several weeks.
And I as well. And for the audience who don't know, Ben and I are friends. We're actually doing a program together. We'll talk about that later. But I met Ben and was just thrilled because Ben is just such an incredible source of knowledge, and not just knowledge, but the applying of knowledge. Is to do and to know, and not to do is to not know. And you are somebody who knows and does.
And I know where the bodies are buried.
And you do. This is true. So Ben, I've said, you were Napoleon Hill and may in fact be responsible for this whole arena of transformational workshops and seminars, going way back when, to the early days when you were with a makeup company.
Yeah, Holiday Magic Cosmetics and its various subsidiaries, owned and run by William Penn Patrick, who was one of my very early mentors and second only to my father, and tied with Napoleon Hill.
And that's fantastic. So can you give us a little bit of that background, how and from holiday magic to mind dynamics and what kind of happened? Give us a little bit of history so that people understand your contribution and legacy, what you've left, as well as where we're moving toward in the future.
Well, I was sort of in the catbird seat, Rex. We were the largest direct sales multi-level marketing company in the world. Either we were when I got there or became that shortly thereafter. And so people would say, well, how did you meet Ogmandino? I said, I think I was going to the bathroom and passed him in the hall, or, how'd you meet so-and-so? He worked for me. And so we had a lot of that going on. If you wanted to be in the seminar business, American Sales Masters and so on, however accidental it was and however lucky I was, you had to go through me. I decided who was in the seminars and who was doing what. And so everybody that was anybody wanted to be my buddy. Whether I deserved it or not isn't the issue. They wanted to be my friend. So Bill Patrick said to me one day, I said, I want to own something myself within the company. He said, well, come up with something. And you can have 10% off the top, like the deals I have with other people. Stay Power Motor Oil Additives was a subsidiary. The guy, Terry something, I forget his last name, who came up with that, got 10% of the gross right off the top, even though I and whoever I put in as president of that company at the time had to do the work. So that appealed to me. So I sat down with my trusty thesaurus and came up with the name Leadership Dynamics Institute. And that was, I didn't know it at the time. I was just looking for something where we could charge money to come spend some time with Bill Patrick and me, and sort of a mentorship program. So it was 4 days. I think it was $2,500, but we're talking a long time ago. It'd be about 25,000 today for 4 days. Ran from Thursday morning to Sunday afternoon nonstop. It was one of the early encounter type groups. Somebody wrote one time it was sort of Tony Robbins meets the Navy SEALs. And that was Leadership Dynamics. It took off to great success. Werner Erhard and many famous people went through it as students. And then one day I went back to Bill's office, and he had The Sleeping Prophet, the book, on his desk by Edgar Casey. And he handed me the book and he said, Ben, read this, and then I want to start a company like that. So I read it. A couple of days later, I said, okay, what do you want? He said, the Silva Mind Institute or Mind Control or something like that, Silva, Jose Silva, has a company up and running. Let's just buy it. I said, fine. So I tracked Jose Silva down, and we negotiated a contract, oral at this point, to buy Silva Mind Control. Well, it turned out I apparently wasn't listening well. I thought the rights were worldwide and certainly nationwide, since that's what he had going. It turned out Jose thought we were talking about the rights to Silva in the greater Los Angeles area. And it was a pretty substantial price nationally for the business they were doing, never mind for the greater Los Angeles area. So I sat back down and thought about it for a while, and I thought they must have a top instructor somewhere. So I tracked him down and flew him out to California to talk to him, and offered him the following: you can be head of Mind Dynamics in exchange for this percentage, a base salary and this percentage, so long as next time I see you, when you get off the plane, I want all of the Silva manuals with you. We're not going to plagiarize. We're going to research, and we're going to find things in those manuals we can use, sort of like what Mary Kay did when she joined Holiday Magic. She told me later, Ben, I only joined to get the manuals. So that was sort of what I was doing, and may have been where I learned the lesson. So off the plane he came, and month or so with all the manuals under his arm, and we started Mind Dynamics. Now, the people who went through Leadership Dynamics and Mind Dynamics both tended to really get a head full of ideas. Werner Erhard was one of our top instructors at Mind Dynamics, as I said, a student at Leadership Dynamics. He came in one day to Bill Patrick and said, I want 50% of the company, or I'm going to go start my own deal. He meant of Mind Dynamics. Or I'm going to go start my own deal. Bill Patrick got up, draped his arm around his shoulder, walked him to the front door and said, oh, give me your key. And Werner turned over his key and he said, have a nice life, and sent him on his way. Bill didn't threaten very well. Well, from that, from EST, the forum, Sci World, which used to stand for Patrick Seminars International, when they found out that wasn't working well after Bill died in a plane crash, they changed it, made up new reasons why it was called Sci World, PSI World. That was held until very recently up at our ranch in Clear Lake, California. So all of that, LifeSpring, all of those companies, about 1,500, somebody added them up one time, about 1,500 companies sprung from my desire to get 10% of something, Leadership Dynamics, and Bill Patrick's desire to set up something along the lines of Silva Mind Control, hence Mind Dynamics. So that's, for good or bad, that's where it all started. And I can track anybody in that business. I can check, well, were you ever with so-and-so? Were you ever with SciWorld, LifeSpring, MDI, LDI, et cetera? And that's the nexus of all of the modern ones. Prior to that, there was Synanon and so on, but they were on a different track trying to accomplish different things. But the basic structure, if you walked into the room, would have been pretty much the same.
Wow. What a journey, and how amazing. And yeah, I mean, you know all the principal players who came up through the ranks from then to now. As many of them gone, and many of them still with us, and providing positive inspiration and messages to the people. So what a journey. Now, I know people are going, okay, now what about Napoleon Hill? Because we actually have, and I'm just going to tease a little bit, we actually have a segment coming up during our time here that features some of Napoleon Hill. So you got to spend time with Dr. Hill. Let's hear some about that. That would be fantastic.
Well, it was the last 2.5 years of his life. Not full time, but he was at my beck and call full time, and probably came to the office for a week or more, 4 or 5 times a year. And the way that happened was one day there was a knock on my door, and it went, and then the door opened. That meant it was William Patrick knocking to be polite, but not knocking to ask if he could come in. He was coming in. And when the door opened, there stood Bill and this little old man. At least it seemed that way to me at the time. He was 84. I was 25. And it turned out, I heard from each of them independently later, and the stories matched. Napoleon Hill was there to give Bill Patrick a plaque and present him with a signed copy of a new book he'd written, in which he said Bill Patrick was one of the, I think it was 5, maybe it was 10 greatest people currently living or ever had lived or something, in a book dedicated to Bill Patrick and these other people. So he flew out to present the plaque and to give the signed copy and so on. I didn't even know he was in the building. I might have met him on the way to the bathroom, had he gone to the bathroom. And on the way down the hall, it was a long building. Bill Patrick's office was at the back. Mine was at the front. Long hallway. Bill Patrick said to Dr. Hill, apparently, I've got this young man. He's president of the company. He's doing a great job, but he's 25 years old. He doesn't have wisdom yet. And I think sometimes he's probably afraid to walk down that long hallway to ask me for certain advice, or to admit he was afraid, or to admit he didn't know what the heck he was doing. I'd like for you to be his, I don't know if he used the term mentor or coach or I always said they paid him $50,000 a year to be my friend, which is, by the way, about $500,000 a year in today's money. So it was not insignificant. And I'd like for you to serve that, just be at his beck and call, and anything he says to you is between the two of you. Don't pass it on to me. And Dr. Hill said, well, let's go meet him. That was the knock on the door, and that was the elderly gentleman standing next to him. And we struck it off as well. I'm a Southern gentleman. So when I said, Dr. Hill, it's a pleasure to meet you, he said, call me Nappy. I said, I can't do that. I'm sorry. You're my senior. You're a doctor. I didn't know what kind of doctor at the time, but you're a doctor, and I'm 25 years old. So you'll be Dr. Hill to me. That was the first of probably 100 friendly arguments on that subject. I never even said the word nappy until he died, and it became a cute story. So he came to work for me. As I said, available by phone anytime, and available sometimes in California more than I needed him, but he loved to have the Learjet sent for him. He liked to fly in it. He liked the fact that in the little town in South Carolina, Learjet would come in just to get him. And I sort of knew that feeling. It can impress the locals. And so we started working together. And I even tested the theory, because Bill had had a coup tried on him. Bill Patrick had had a coup tried on him where 3 people who were with him in the beginning came to him and said they each wanted 25% of the company. He could keep 25, or they were all leaving. Sort of what Werner Erhard tried to do to him, which is the reason he walked Werner to the door and said, give me your key. But so I made up a story to Dr. Hill that 2 or 3 of us were going to try and take over the company and so on. And but this was confidential. Dr. Hill listened to the whole story. And then that night when he was out, he always stayed at our house in the Dr. Napoleon Hill suite. That night also, when he was at the house, he tried to talk me out of it. And meanwhile, I'd written a letter to Bill Patrick. Dear Bill, if Dr. Hill tells you that we're setting up a coup, blah, 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 it's not true. I did it to test whether Dr. Hill would be, our conversations would be totally confidential. So calm yourself. Wrote the letter, sealed it with a wax seal from the art department, and gave it to Marion McGinnis, his secretary, Bill Patrick's secretary. I said, Marion, put this in your desk, and if you ever hear Bill go off and you hear my name and being yelled, get this envelope out and hand it to him. So with that, Dr. Hill and I went on about our business. To my knowledge, I left the company about 3 years after this, when and then the company lasted another couple of years until Bill Patrick crashed his P-51 into the hillside up at the ranch. There was lots of opportunities for Dr. Hill to rat me out. To my knowledge, when they hauled the furniture out of the office, in Marion McGinnis's top desk drawer was the letter sealed with wax. Dr. Hill never said a word, even though it could have brought the company down or radically changed the company had he passed it on.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's quite a tale. I mean, you know, an experience they have gone through.
It was interesting. Those were the Wild West days of MLM. The president of the company before me, Fred Pape, came to the office one day, and he's gone now, so I can use his name. I don't think anybody would care. Brought a gun to the office one day to kill me, and because he knew I was going to be president. He had seen something that indicated to him he was on the way out the door. I'm sitting in my office, and the head of the mailroom, who was sort of the mother hen of the company, came in my office and said, Ben, stay here, sit down, do not move. I thought, I wonder what that's about. But he said it in a tone where I thought, well, that's probably a good idea. So I sat there, went about my business working. And a few minutes later, I heard boom, which I later found out was the gun Fred had went off. as Bill Patrick and a guy named John Hart were wrestling it from him. That was to kill me.
Wow.
But as someone said, Bill Patrick, I think it was, said, well, no harm done. I said, unless you work in the accounting department, which is where the bullet went when it went through Fred's ceiling, it went through the floor of the accounting department upstairs. So interesting times. They firebombed my car at one time. Wow. It was down at the Safeway store beneath our house in Marin County, and I saw black smoke coming up. I got up, put up my binoculars. It was my wife who had gone to the store in one of our cars, and they'd thrown railroad flares in the back seat. And so when you're playing with people who are suddenly making a lot of money and aren't used to being around a lot of money, funny things happen. And I was right in the midst of them.
Well, that raises a good question, because, this is about leadership and about the attributes and characteristics of leading. Napoleon Hill wrote a lot about that in Laws of Success, and, and then subsequently other things, and said, first you have to lead yourself, and then went on and exemplified or amplified other traits and qualities. Some meaning the buck stops here. Don't blame, be friendly, bring the team together. So you raise an interesting point. People sometimes get avenues to lots of cash or lots of fame or lots of success or lots of something. And, some people say, well, it changes them. Other people would say, no, it just amplifies who they already are. And, but how do you, what advice would you give to people who might be in that situation of on the brink of success or envious of someone on the brink of success to go through that time without the kind of violence or without the kind of scandalous behaviors that you got to go through in the early days with the other people?
Pick your parents carefully. I wasn't given any, but I was raised around money. My father did well. I was raised 2 blocks out the front gate of East Lake Country Club in Atlanta, Bobby Jones' home course. As long as I didn't say anything, I was allowed to go in the men's grill frequently with my father and just sit at the table and listen. Well, sitting at the table was usually the chairman of the board of Coca-Cola, whoever it was at the time. It came along with being chairman of the board of Coca-Cola. You got to go to East Lake, and the founders of Home Depot, and a lot of people had more money than any of them that you've never heard of. Those successful people behind the scenes who just build huge companies. So I was raised around money. It wasn't miraculous to me. When I was being moved up the chain and came to California for some training one day, no one was in the training room. I said, where is everybody? And they said, well, Fred Paper's taking us over to San Francisco. We're all going to get diamond pinky rings and alligator shoes, black alligator shoes. And I said, I'm not. If you walk in East Lake with a diamond pinky ring and alligator shoes, unless they have spikes on the bottom and they're golf shoes, you'd be run out of town. I said, I'm not going to do that. Well, I almost got fired just for that act of belligerence. I said, well, I'm not going to get in the car, pretend like I'm going to get a diamond pinky ring, pretend like I'm buying one, and pretend like I'm buying alligator shoes, none of which will ever show up again because I'm not going to buy them and I'm not going to wear them. That's white trash, and I'm not going to participate. So that was sort of a standoff, but I won in that no one decided to force the issue. They knew Bill Patrick really liked me, and so I was able to get away with it. But I'm kidding. I'm not kidding when I say pick your parents carefully. If you're raised properly and read and write proper English, and you're used to being around good things and so on, you don't get blinded quite so quickly by sudden wealth or fame. And one last thing on that, find someone and appoint them to be your wingman or woman who will tell you the absolute truth They will tell you when you're being a jackass. They will tell you when you're in over your head. Usually, like my relationship with Dr. Hill, he never criticized me or asked a serious question that could be taken as criticism in front of other people. He always waited till they were all gone, and when the door clicked shut, he sat at the end of my conference table to my left. If I saw his head come up, I go, uh-oh, here it comes. But find somebody who will tell you the absolute blanking truth when you need to hear it. Those were crucial for me. Dr. Hill did it, and I have a couple other friends, one a running buddy that goes back to high school, my first business partner, the greatest salesperson I ever personally worked with, Jimmy Rucker. And Jimmy Rucker, to this day, will tell me via text or email or something when I've said or done something stupid that he heard about, or I wasn't doing something that projected. He knows the image I like to have and the way I like to conduct myself. When I get out of that lane, I'll see on the computer text from Jimmy Rucker. I go, uh-oh.
I love that because it's important in that, we can't choose our parents, but as parents, we can choose how we raise our children and what we expose them to help them be maximally, less affected and maximally successful in life and balanced and have an appreciation for things. I'm going to agree. I mean, I was raised around celebrity. I don't care who you are. There's nobody on this planet who impresses me. I like them, but I could care less in some ways. At the same time, I can appreciate them and be with them, but it doesn't make me get excited or not excited by it.
You don't carry your autograph book around with you anymore?
I've never asked for an autograph. I have since photographs. I have started taking selfies and stuff because I realized I had nothing to show my children or anyone from my past because I never bothered to take a photo. They're colleagues of mine. I don't care if they're up on top or down at the bottom. We're all in it together. So I understand that attitude, but it doesn't. But what you said about having somebody who will be brutally honest, somebody who will hold you accountable and keep you responsible to what you're doing in your mission. So many people, because I've been around lots of celebrities, as you have, we've watched lots of people, get catapulted into success, or they work their way to success and they've changed, just like their relationship, they're either amplified by money or whatever. But the people around them also change. As they change their circles, sometimes a lot of the people they get are yes people who just say yes. They tell them what they want to hear, what they think they want to hear, and they don't have the luxury or the necessity of having somebody who will brutally help them stay honest to themselves, to stay authentic, to not get caught up in the ride. And so that is such an important piece in terms of being a good leader, is having the people you can look at who will say that's BS or that's stupid or you're wrong, and having the wherewithal to hear that and accept that and understand that without going, well, I'm not going to pay attention.
Yeah,
that relationship is an important relationship to have and to foster.
And I would also, this may be getting off in the weeds a little bit, don't be disappointed when someone who you worshiped and idolized on the movie screen or at the front of the seminar room or whatever turns out to be at best normal and at worst a real jackass. And don't let that bother you. Remember the good qualities and learn from that. And that poem Desiderata that was floating around in the Flower Child days, there's a phrase in there that I can really relate to. It helps me. Listen to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. And I've dealt with a lot of people who are dull and ignorant, and I've dealt with a lot of people who thought I was dull and ignorant, so I can understand that. But sometimes getting behind the magic table is not a good thing. You almost can't avoid it at a certain point in your career, but getting behind the magic table destroys a lot of illusions that you had.
No, very true. And I would say that it's people need to understand that it's a blessing. It's an opportunity to find wealth, or to find success, to find happiness. It's we because nobody can do it alone. We have to do it through other people, and that's what sales is all about, and communication is all about, and building a civilization is all about. Is no one is solely responsible for anything or everything that happens, but we're all kind of cogs in a wheel, and we all need to kind of understand that our place. And that doesn't mean know your place and don't speak up. That means we're in it together. We cooperate, we collaborate, and there's harmony and in unity and strength, kind of in numbers. And so many people want to lead because they think, well, I'll be rich, or I'll be famous, or I'll have all these followers, as opposed to saying, I want to be a role model to people, to help them, to encourage them, to help the world, and these people be better off. Or should I leave the world? I leave the world a better place, like leave the people you meet better off than they were before you met them. So you've been around so many incredible people, and yeah, sometimes not all of them are what they seem to be, and other of them may surprise you in that they're more delightful than you could ever have imagined.
Right.
But the notion of being the change you want to see in the world and helping other people be that, what do you think? I don't want to keep going here, but I think part of the thing that makes people really good is they're curious enough to want to learn. And what you said about listening, the Desiderata, listening to the what was it, the dull and the ignorant?
Dull and ignorant, they too have their story.
Being willing to learn from anyone. I've learned from more people like on park benches and stuff than sometimes the top people in seminar rooms.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not about who's presenting what or who's leading what, but if you have an insatiable appetite and you're curious and you're a learner at heart, then you can begin to embrace and understand and appreciate all sorts of things that others may not, and therefore they may miss, but you may benefit. And if you're a wise person and a benevolent person, then you share that with other people.
Absolutely. And listen and look for the nuggets. I'm a professional prospector when it comes to the little nuggets here and there, things that you can learn from and benefit by. I was fortunate enough to be nicknamed or dubbed the attitude coach for the astronauts of Apollo 15, 16, 17. And my favorite of that bunch, no offense to the rest of them, was Jim Irwin, the commander of Apollo 15. He was just really a magnificent person. Went off after NASA and started a Christian movement called Operation High Flight and so on. So one day talking to him, I said, Jim, when you came around, when took off from the moon and did the loop and started back to Earth, and there was the Earth. He was one of his photographs. There were several of them taken by different astronauts, but one of his used to hang behind my desk. It was an Earthrise. You know, taken from the moon, there's the Earth rising like we're used to looking at the moon rising. So when he came around the back of the moon and headed back and there was the Earth, what did you feel? And I was expecting him to say, you know, power, achievement, I finally reached my goals, whatever. He said, Ben, I was struck by my total insignificance. And we didn't have then the telescopes and all that we have now that go out to the beginning of time, they think, to really be struck. You know, we're a minor planet in a minor solar system in a minor galaxy. And here we are worried about the light bill or the this or the that and thinking the whole world revolves around us. Nothing but maybe your children and your spouse revolve around you. And that won't last long. So, but that from my whole relationship with Jim Irwin, if you asked me to quote something, that's the only one I could legitimately put in quotes. The rest of it was just talking to a great guy and having a good time. But I was struck by my total insignificance. Jimmy Carter sitting in the Plains Baptist Church, and I'm not Jimmy Carter's biggest fan. I lived in Georgia when he was governor. As the Atlanta Journal-Constitution editorial page said on the day he was either nominated or elected, God, what have we done? So I can relate to that. But in his memoirs, I forget what the title was, there was one sentence. The minister in the Plains Baptist Church said one morning during a service, if you were arrested today and charged with being a Christian, Would there be enough evidence to convict you? I read that whole book, and that was the sentence that made it all worthwhile. And I've changed my life in some ways because of it. I was struck by my total insignificance. One sentence that I can remember in my several years relationship with Jim Irwin, but it changed my life. So be looking for them. Look for interesting people. Seek them out. It gives you interesting stories to tell. I've done some semi-interesting things in my life, but when people look at the famous people I've worked with, they always say, Charlie Manson, tell me about Charlie Manson. I think, God, it just said the astronauts of Apollo 15, 16, 17. You want to ask me about that? It said Dr. Napoleon Hill, and people want to know about Charlie Manson. So experience the interesting experiences and learn how to relate them to other people. Because I learned a lot sitting in Charlie Manson's cell for 9 hours, 3 different visits. But I learned a great deal from him. I learned how he did what he did. Whether you like it or not, nobody likes it, but it explained what he did. And I probably told you this before, Rex. When I walked into his cell in the adjustment center for the first visit, he had 2 bunks. It was a two-man cell, but no one wanted to sleep with Charlie. They'd be afraid to shut their eyes. So he bunked alone. The top bunk was his bookshelf, clothing. It was his closet, and on it was 1 book. And I checked the whole cell. It was his only book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And I said, God, what an interesting book selection, Charlie. He says, it's my Bible. I couldn't have built the Manson family without it. Now, Rex, that's interesting. That's really interesting. You can discuss that one sentence for a whole evening with somebody.
Well, let's go back to the, would there be enough evidence to convict you of being a Christian? I think that's beautiful. And it shows the power of one idea, one sentence, and what happens when you make a decision in favor of good. Obviously, Charlie made a different decision using a book, but you could use How to Win Friends and Influence People to build a positive empire. You and I are doing...
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And you are back here at the Global Book Lovers Week. And I am so grateful that we had the opportunity to have Ben Gay III and Rex Sikes. If you want to know more about the following conversation that we just interrupted, it is all about their closers program where they are teaching people how to sell. But talk about selling and marketing. I had the very, very quick opportunity to bring someone on stage who was recently just in the comments section. He has been a marketing and business expert for over 20 years, a friend, a partner of the Los Angeles Tribune, Danny Walsh. Danny, welcome to the Global Book Lovers Summit. And I know you're only here for about 2-3 minutes. I wanted to hear, when it comes to business, books, and sales, because, we just had Ben Gay, who's the closer. What is in your sleeve that you could let the people know about, whether it's a book or something that you can share or a program? I would love to give you the opportunity to have that minute.
I think number one is hang out in the comments of amazing programming that's been put together by the Los Angeles Tribune. Literally said hi to Ben and to Rex, and I've got the most admiration for these guys. Friends and people I've had the fortunate pleasure of being able to work with. There's some great takeaways from that conversation. So if you missed that conversation, you need to go back on the replay. So that's number one. Hang out in the comments of amazing programming. And you never know, you might actually be brought into that conversation. So I've literally got 2 minutes, and this is pretty cool. Not often do you get brought into the program. But I do have 2 minutes.
Well, Danny, I'm playing while also admiring you. So I just wanted to tap into your head. What we have got authors right here. What is the tip that you can share them when it comes to marketing in 1 minute, and how can they reach you?
Ask. That's the simplest thing, right? So any kind of marketing, any kind of promotion, anything that you want to achieve, if you want a new customer, you want a sale, you want a new business opportunity, you want to feature on Los Angeles Tribune, whatever it is, you need to ask. And as it happens, I've recently put a book together, which is coming out very soon. And it's all about a 3-way formula to literally get whatever you want by asking. And part of the problem...
Wave that book a little bit more. What's the title?
It's called Get Your Ask
Right. Oh,
Right. Wow. Also, in the bookshelf, I do have the clauses on standby as well. So read the clauses by Ben Gare III, but also get your ask right, because there's so many people go through life without ever asking for anything that they actually want. It's like very alarming and scary. And what you'll realize right now, just let me know in the comments, if you have got something that you really, really want that you've just never asked for. And think about that for a second, right? There's something that you really, really want and you've never asked for it. You're afraid to ask, or you're worried about what people might say. 99% of people never ask. So in my mind, that means you've got a 99% chance of getting a yes. And if you think about it, what's actually stopping you? So the biggest piece of advice I can give you in 1 minute is ask for what you want. How did I do? Let me know in the comments. And is that resonating with anybody?
Yes, it is. They are commenting saying, get your ask right. Absolutely, get your ask right. So Danny, I thank you so much for coming on. I want to honor your time. I know you've got a call. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for your partnership with the Los Angeles Tribune, and for the marketing things that you are doing for us. You have an awesome rest of your day.
Yep, you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Then that is the magic of the comment community. So we have a global audience that we see. Okay, so we've got Daniela Seke. Okay, I'm starting to ask for what I want. So we have a global community. We've got over 300 people live right now at this very moment in the morning on a business day. And so I would like you to reflect on that. Lorna says, definitely, Danny. Ask for what you want, and not only do you ask, but you ask right. That is so important. Talking about ask, we also are still going to have Mark Victor Hansen coming up most likely tomorrow, because today's already going. Tomorrow's our last day of live broadcast. Thursday is going to be our our film festival, our LA Tribune Film Festival, where we are featuring 33 films from around the globe. We had 83 nominations from 24 countries. And so tomorrow, yes, Daniela, you are absolutely 1000% invited to be in the red carpet of the film festival. It's going to be in the AMC Theaters, Orange 30. It's a grand, gorgeous theater, high ceilings, beautiful location. Our filmings is going to be in 3 different theaters happening at the same time on those 3 days. There will be a lot of producers, a lot of directors, actors. Of course, you can imagine press, a lot of press. So we look forward. LATribuneFilmFestival.com. All you got to do is, go there, click it, and check out. You would be surprised at how little it costs, because it's really generous. The LA Tribune International Film Festival, it's international, like I said, from 24 countries, is actually a production of Dr. Emily Letran and Rohini Hack. And they're mega producers in the film world. And this is our inaugural film festival with the Los Angeles Tribune, co-founded, of course, by our CEO, Mo Rock. And so there's such a generous opportunity for you to be in that experience for such a little investment. So, and it's the best flight, because you just fly to Orange County and it's right there. So I encourage you, if there's one thing that you can invest on that will exponentially catapult you to greater exposure, this is it. So LA Tribune Film Festival, look at it, LATribuneFilmFestival.com. So today has been amazing, and we have Several authors coming up, both critically nominated for LA Tribune bestseller, which reminds me, nominate your book. I'm not sure if it's going on the banner right now. Yes, it is. Nominate your book. So nominate your book for, or the favorite book that you love or someone that you admire. Make sure that you gift them with the nomination. It's LA Tribune bestseller.com. And the film festival is latribunefilmfestival.com. That starts the day after today. So wanted to make sure that you have those links. Nominate your book. We have several nominated authors coming right up, and we also have a critically acclaimed best-selling author that's also coming up. So we're here for maybe 4 or 5 more authors, but for now, let's take a break. And in this break, the most inspiring story as to why the Los Angeles Tribune is doing what we do, let me give you the TEDx talk of our CEO, Mo Rock.
Imagine waking up in the morning, grabbing your morning coffee, and opening up your daily newspaper to nothing but headlines that inspire and uplift you. Headlines like the Apollo 11 moon landing and how it inspired people in the 60s, or headlines like the Berlin Wall has collapsed, or even more recently, headlines like the miracle on the Hudson. What would that do to your day when you started off with just positive news? My name is Mo Rock. I'm the CEO of a national newspaper brand, and today, together, we are reimagining journalism. You see, studies reveal that there is a stark contrast between positive news and negative news. In fact, for every piece of news that is solutions-based, that can uplift and inspire you, there are at least 17 that don't. That's 17 to 1. So today, we are actually faced with an epidemic of negative news. We've all heard the phrase, if it bleeds, it leads. But why does this have to be the centerpiece of a lot of news production, journalism, and content creation of the world today? There are a lot of incredible journalists that are solutions orientated, and I give a lot of credit to them for doing a great job. And here's the truth that you may not realize, is that everyone in this room is impacting our news. You see, every single time you like a post, every single time you leave a comment on a news article, and every single time you share something, you're not just liking, commenting, and resharing. You're actually casting a vote. You're not only casting a vote for the kind of news you want to consume, but believe it or not, you're casting a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. You see, I believe that news has the power to not just inform you, but it has the power to mold you. Our world views are largely shaped based on the news and content that we consume. And so I want to encourage folks to remember that the next time that they like, comment, and share. Our organization has one question that it always has to ask before we share anything, print anything, or publish anything. Our editorial team asks this one very simple question. Does the following piece of news empower our audience, or does it disempower our audience? What would the world look like if every content creator, every journalist, every time someone posted a news article, they asked that question? Does the following piece of content empower our audience or disempower our audience? And I want to encourage everyone to participate in this process and help us bridge that gap between 17 negative news articles for every one positive. And let's come together and ultimately make this world a better place. Thank you.
Welcome back. What an inspiration, isn't it? Make the world a better place. And that is what's behind everything that we do. Putting up the comment of Lorna Macbeth, much gratitude for sharing and caring, Morak. Absolutely. Yes, we are all programmed wrong as children, becoming aware of our words and the way we respond, not react. I love it. Thank you so much for the comment. You know, we always say at the Los Angeles Tribune, this is such a unique broadcast because we don't just talk at you and we don't report at you. Everything is a co-creation. You are part of the broadcast. You are part of the experience. So the experience that's brought in every broadcast depends on our audience, depends on who's on the audience commenting. So make sure you share, you tag, you tell people if there is any community that people should be a part of in the comment section, it's here. So our next speaker is a best-selling author, and she's a friend of the Los Angeles Tribune. She's been in some of our live events. It has been such a pleasure seeing her in person, meeting her in person. Her name is Bhavna. And I want to tell you a little bit more before I bring her in. Bhavna is a global spiritual guru, philanthropist, Reiki grandmaster, teacher, trainer, and international speaker, and of course, a best-selling author. Right now, I'm going to bring her on stage to ask her about her book and have her share with us what her book is about. Bhavna, welcome back to the Los Angeles Tribune.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Bhavna, we would love to hear, I know that you've got all of the awesomeness, a spiritual guru, a trainer, Reiki master, energy healer. What has inspired you to write a book?
My journey started with, I have my first book right here. With this book, when I was traveling for one of my retreats to India from Boston. And in my journey of spirituality, I connected with angels and archangels. And I wrote this book in 7 hours on the plane, handwrite it, the old school way. And just channel the whole entire book of how to help people heal from trauma and what can they do when they are by themselves. Not every day they can go to a doctor or to a therapist but when they are going through something, what is that tool they could have by their side which could help them immediately? So that's why the book came out to be smaller, but it's more like a self-care, self-help book, which could go with them, travel with them anywhere, pocketbook, or just in a briefcase, or in, when they're traveling. So it's light, it's not a lot of weight, but it could empower them to live better and not be stuck in their traumas. So that was my first journey of, okay, I went through the trauma. How can I help and support other people? Because I know how trauma can sometimes just freeze somebody in that position, and they can stay stuck in their life for a longest time, and be disconnected with themselves and others in their life, and feel unhappy and sad, or live with frustration, or just be just not even living but more existing. So I wanted to help people with with that thought I was thinking. And then they just said, why don't you write this book? And I said, what do I write? And then they just, so I give it more to, it's their book, I'm just a conduit of holding all that
Oh,
information. So that's how my first book came about. And then the second book, I literally was thinking about, people go through so much pain in their relationship, and whether they hurt somebody or they got hurt by someone. So there's betrayal. And then a lot of people are awakening in their spiritual journey, and people confuse it with religion, but also what's going on with these thoughts coming in. What do I do? Where do I go? Who do I ask these questions? So there's no guidance on that. And that's how, if somebody hurt me, what do I do now? And sometimes they get stuck in that pattern of, they keep getting into these relationships over and over again. So who can help them? And again, not everybody goes to a counselor, not everybody goes to a therapist, not everybody goes to a coach, or does healings or believes in them. So then what do I do? So my second book, which came about, was Confused Love, Lust, or Spirituality. And that's how that was created. And then I started to get people to connect with me after my first book. And then they were like, we love what you wrote. Can we have you come join our book series? And I said, definitely. So at the moment, I have 7 books. This Call to Speak lead and Impact. And then I have Rich Codes, then Healing Happens, and Journey of Becoming You. And then last one is Rich Codes, which is also with Jim Britt. And there's a couple of authors with all we all came together. And then Journey of Becoming You. So every book has been something different. And how can I help people go to their next level? So just like Rich Codes is, how can we have money? And what is stopping my life from having that money? And then in Journey of Becoming You, the divine power of embracing your inner gifts of who you are, embracing yourself, your potential, who you are, So that part of, we all come with gifts. How can I take that and how can I believe in that? So the belief and the trust. So when you read my book, there's a part of you which will connect to you. It's very simply written, but it's more about connecting with different parts of you in your life, just like in Call to Speak, I talk about accepting your calling, and I go through my journey of how I accepted my calling and becoming the golden light, and becoming the spiritual guru, and how my entire journey started with that. So I feel, when people go through and read my books, it will empower them and help them step up in their life. And my book can be something for them to, okay, today I'm feeling like this. What do I do? Who do I talk to? Sometimes you don't have somebody to talk to, and then the book becomes your best friend. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And you know what's amazing is looking at your journey, you started with one book and now you have got 7.
Yes.
And it's amazing how you when you start with one, it cracks the opportunity for multiple things. So having and this is in the span of how long? You're
I started the first one in 2014 and
okay.
7 books in that time. I am finishing another one this week, and then I have 2 more books. One is going to be a big one. It's my book. I'm channeling Mother Mary and Jesus, and I'm writing about. It's called Hidden Years of Jesus. So I'm writing about all about his life before he became Jesus, before he became
The known
known to the world.
Jesus.
Yes,
Yes.
knowing him in his younger years, how his life was, Mother Mary's, from her perspective and his perspective of what he did and how he lived and what where he studied and all those information. So,
Wow. Wow.
so that's a big book that'll be coming. Yeah,
Wow.
I,
Um, Thank you for your comments, Lorna. Greatly appreciate, Reiki healing found me in 1996. The medical profession has no answer. Thank you for your shares. I love our community. They chime in and they get in the conversation. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, Bhavna, is for people who have a specialty,
Mhm.
like you do. Like, what is the benefit of writing a book and, having a book? Because I obviously it somehow is supporting you what you do because you've had 7, you've got 2 more, you've got a big one coming. What is the benefit of the books to a brand and a business in your own experience and what it has done for you?
It actually helps me in giving people tools. It
Mm,
becomes like a resource for people. So it's more than just making money. It's also something, people, if they want to have money, it's like a royalty as well. But for me, more than that, it is more about I can give them a tool to take home with, and which will help them when they are at their lowest, when, say, in the night, they're not feeling good, or a trauma got triggered and they don't know what to do. So they can just pick up, you know, healing trauma and self-care and immediately open a page and start reading, and it'll help them get that trigger out and be normal again, you know. So for me, that is what I do, and for every person it's different. Some people just like to tell about their story. Some people go through like, oh my god, I went through so much in my life. I've learned. I've met people who say my life is like a movie, so I want to write a book and then make a movie about it. So my goal is with my books to spread, love, spread peace, and be there for people. I cannot be there physically for everybody. So the book helps them to receive a part of me and helps them shift.
I love what you said. I love how you said that the books are a resource for people, which is so important, because a lot of times, whether it is we're coaching or we're consulting, we do a lot of people really want to provide, their readers more tools, their supporters more tools, and so that they can be self-reliant, even as clients, right? To have additional tools. And that's, I've never actually seen it that way before, that when you write a book, you're providing people tools. That's such a great, perspective.
Mhm. Yes.
A great inspiration. What I feel from you, at least in your energy, Bhavna, is it's the way you write books comes from a place of generosity.
It is because sometimes, say you just had a argument or a fight with somebody in your life, right? So say your partner or your children or your friend or your boss, and now you're angry and upset, and what do you do and who do you talk to? So if it's your partner, then who do you talk to, right? Sometimes friends are busy, right? Sometimes colleagues are busy. So who do you talk to? What do I do? So I have, like, in my chapter 2 in this book, I start with a poem which is forgiving. So just reading that immediately will help you, right? So if it's okay, I can read it. It's like very small.
Absolutely, please do. Would love
So
that.
it says, I have it. Life changes you, circumstances change you, people change you, thoughts change you, love changes you. But the universal energies open you, makes you understand you, loves you, recreates you, fills you, makes you, becomes you, unites with you. So be the light and spread it, unite with it and shine with it.
So good. Oh my gosh. I love, love, love that.
Yes.
Um,
And then I have a quote which says, life is all about living by forgiving. You
Life
know,
is made by
life is all about living by forgiving.
living by forgiving. That is so awesome.
Right.
Well, Bhavna, I wanted to give you the full screen and just give you the opportunity to speak to our audience. And I'm just going to let you channel what it is to speak about. I'm not going to ask you a question like, do you want to talk to the authors? What is about writing books like? But if, what is it that you at this moment have a message to say to our audience? Would love to hear.
Thank you. So, welcome everyone. And I would love to talk to you today about letting go of the trauma in your life and stepping up in your life where you are. And are you here? Do you feel that I'm here to do something big? I'm here a part of this. And what is that knowing? And I don't know where to go, or I'm already living my purpose life, but what's my next step? You know? So, it's like, what is that next step? What can I do? Every person here comes, with, I always believe, is coming here with a soul purpose. And in order for you to do that work, you have to first connect with your soul, know who you are at that soul level, understand yourself. Because when you understand your core, who you are, just like I did, I understood when I became the golden light chosen by God, the universe, in 2012, December 21st. And 275 people witnessed me in Massachusetts, Westboro, right? So that's when I started to, after that, I started to understand my purpose of, okay, I'm here to spread love and peace and to help people shift into that. So what should I do to help people to be more loving and to be more peaceful? And books are, ways for me to send that message out, but I also do coaching, mentoring, and I've created a golden light healing method with that. But here, I would like you to understand yourself. It's like, who are you at that core level? Who are you? Because every person has their own unique light. You know, what is your light? Have you connected with that? If you've not, let me connect with you. Connect with me, take my number down and text shine, and say, yes, I would like to connect with my light. I would like to connect who I am at the soul level. And that will help you to step to your next level. Because once you connect with your soul, who you are, and understand that, and then you connect with your light, that's when you get like, oh my God, this is my light. Now I want to grow it. How do you grow it? You grow it by working more on your soul purpose, But a lot of people I know, they're already working on their soul purpose, but they're not connected with their soul and not their soul's light. So now, when you're doing your soul purpose work without connecting to those two things, even though you are doing the soul purpose work, you're going to be at the end of the day feeling exhausted and tired and be like burned out and be like, oh my God, when evening comes, you're like totally exhausted. And if you feel that, and then when the morning comes, when you're waking up and you're like, okay, sometimes you don't have the energy, like I could just stay in bed here all day long, right? So that means you're not connected with your soul and your soul's light. Even if you're doing meditations and connecting here and there with that, but not fully embodying who you are, and not then stepping into that and doing the work, your spiritual work or your soul's purpose work with that, whether you are working for somebody or you have your own business. The important part is to connect with who you are. I learned it from Deepak Chopra. I went to one of his conferences when he came to Massachusetts. And when he said, go within and know who you are. And he kept saying the whole time we were there for an hour, and he kept saying, close your eyes and go with, and I'll take you through that because that actually helped me. But fast forward, it didn't help me to connect with knowing that I was the golden light, but it started that process of keep thinking. So one question he kept asking was, who are you? And I always do that. So every day, if nothing else, at least if you start with that part of just who am I? Who am I? So I'll take you through that right now if you want to do that. Again, this is not my part. I learned it and I loved it. So I was like, okay, this is something, I would love people to know. And but more than that, I want to take you through experiencing so that you can be in that silence to know you. And when you are in that silent space, because sometimes mind is like a chatterbox, in order for your mind to calm down and to know what you're here to do or to connect with your soul's light, you have to have that mind calm down, right? So a lot of people do different things. Everybody has a different style of calming their mind down. I can give you like 3 tips, which is you can meditate, you can go for a walk, you can go for a hike, or you can do the things you love, right? And whether it's music, some people love it when they are listening to music or they're just singing. So that takes you and transports you into a total different world. So important part is to calm down that chatter mind, whether it's negative, positive, or just creative. You just want that to be calmer. When it's calmer, then you can, think about, okay, now I can do this. But now you are coming in from that core strength of who you are. Okay. But the most important part, once that is calm, then dropping down into a space where you can now connect with your soul, connect with who you are. Once you understand and you feel that, that's when you can go in and say, okay, now from this space, I want to do this work. And that's when you start to do that work, you actually start can make a difference. Because then what you do, whether, and I've seen people who worked with me, they've actually, whether they're working for others or for themselves, they've done and they've been able to impact more people. Like, I help teachers and masters and coaches and trainers, and they come, and when they shift, health coaches, when they shift, they become more calmer and they know who they are at the soul level. They recognize their light. Then they can go out and help more people, and they can create ripples and spread love. Like, from, I always say, if it's going from me, it's going to you, and then it's going from you to others, and it's going from them. So you make a difference with one person, that whole family that one person is shifted, and then they take it to the next level. So that's how we create ripples, ripples of positivity, ripples of love, ripples of peace. But it starts from within you, you know.
That is so powerful. I love what you just shared about shifting, about actually being aware of your come from and coming from a place of your core strength, being connected to your soul. I love that. And you've given our audience such tips. In closing, Bhavna, I want you to share your book again. What is the title of your book that you have given to people as a resource? Let me just turn that into a focus. What's the title of it? We can't see it.
It's called Healing Trauma and Self-Care, and you can buy it through me because I have to bless this book with the angels so that you can receive it and they can help you in your personal life. So I send it like, when you connect with me, I ask the angels to go support you
And
with
how would
that
that
book.
be? So would that be a certain website?
Yes, so you can go to www.b for Bob, H for Harry, wellnessgroup.com.
bhwellnessgroup.com. Well, Bhavna, such insights, grounding, your energy is so grounded. I feel like, I've gotten grounded just in the presence of your reading to us the poem and just giving us the insight on how to connect with your soul and come from a place of strength. So, Bhavna, I just want to acknowledge you. Thank you for writing all the books, and channeling the resources that's coming through you to give to people, to create the ripple effects in the world. And in closing, Bhavna, what would your encouragement be to someone who's been thinking of writing a book but hasn't?
I would say don't procrastinate. And if it's something you feel like you want to write, go ahead and start it, because there's people, you're writing the book, somebody is waiting to be inspired by that book, which will shift their life. So the longer you take, you are making their life more miserable because they are still staying in that misery and not shifting. So write it so they can take it, receive it, and shift their life. So that's why don't procrastinate and get to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are going to be right back after this commercial. We are so grateful for you, Bhavna.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune page. Here you will find original news programming, exclusive digital events, and shows that are directly from the community. At the Los Angeles Tribune, we believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. We are proud to be the only national brand to empower everyday people to make a difference. Since 1886, our reputation has been built on truth and responsibility. Thank you for watching and making a difference.
For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
And welcome back live and direct here at the Los Angeles Tribune Global broadcast for International Global Book Lovers Week. This is day 4, and we are bringing authors that are just writing their books for tools and to give value. You just heard Bhavna Sravastava, who has written her book as tools for spiritual practice journey to those who are stuck in certain emotions. And as the universe would have it, we always have alignments in the last 4 days. And our next speaker is a intuitive alchemist. She's the breakthrough alchemist, intuitive speaker, and author. She reveals blocks, superpowers, and miracles. So if you haven't tapped into your superpowers, if you're feeling like there are blocks in front of you, let me tell you, the next speaker you may want to tag, share, get somebody in here who needs to hear her. One of the things that really resonated with me when our mentor Bill Walsh, who you saw 2 days ago, or if you haven't seen him, he's on day 2, really powerful 30 minutes with Bill Walsh. The way he introduced the value of the gift of this next speaker was this. He said, millionaires see psychologists, billionaires see spiritual guides. And so bringing up on the stage the intuitive spiritual guide and the breakthrough alchemist, Tammy DeMirza. Tammy, welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. You are muted, though. We'd love to hear you.
Hey, I figured it out. It's so good to be with you. You know I love you, precious. I'm so happy that you and I met each other because of our mentor, Bill, who is just amazing. And if they haven't listened to him, they need to go hear that one.
Absolutely. Oh, people were blown away. They were like, I can't write fast enough, just because he really focused into authorship and like, how can you take your book from obscurity and visibility into, the Bill Walsh level, right? In 30 minutes. So definitely powerful. But Tammy, I would love for you to first share with us a book that has changed your life. What book has made an impact on you, and author that's made an impact on you?
There's so many, but I think for me, as an intuitive, I was having a hard time with being raised in Christianity and knowing that I was an intuitive, a medium, or whatever you want to call it. I think what was really hard for me was reconciling that. And how do you, because there's so many things you're told to do and not to do, but reading the book about Edgar Cayce's life and how he used to lay on the sofa and get information really kind of helped me to understand. I think the name of the book is A River Runs Through It or something. I can't remember, but it's about Edgar Cayce and his journey of becoming one of the most famous mediums that you've ever heard of. And I think now Outwitting the Devil is a very powerful book to read. And then Eckhart Tolle, anything he's done, The Conversations with God, Walsh, it's all so important. It really is. So for me, finding other people that were similar to me so that I wouldn't feel so alone was a very important thing. I would ask your readers to go find books that resonate with you, that speak to you. And then you get to transform your life because of their information.
I love that, Tammy. You just had a comment. OMG, that is me, Tammy. Found a kindred soul in our audience. And that is so powerful in how you said that, because a lot of times people feel like I'm weird. I'm unique. Like I don't know anyone like me. And in your case, you looked for books and authors that and made you feel like you're not weird, you're not alone, you're not the only one. Yes, you are special, but you're not. It's not like something's wrong with you if you didn't see how others have thrived and written books for that. And so I love how books have impacted you in that way, because I also have known and heard of people who are mediums and Christians, and they're just so confused and alone and rejected, right? But in your case, you found your support in books. So Tammy, tell us about your book.
Okay, so I have 4 books, and then I have 3 international bestsellers that are coming out. This latest one that I did last year, I've got all my books here, is Superpowers Unleashed. identify and monetize your senses. And one of them is a book and one of them is a journal. The journal is very important because the more that you acknowledge your 5 senses, which are actually your inner guidance system, you're tapping into your genius, figuring out how you communicate, how you receive information. You have these 5 senses. Did you know that they are your best tools and they develop your intuition? So I'm just going to give you an example. We all know Steve Jobs. Did you know that Steve Jobs was a clairvoyant? And that as a clairvoyant, he saw things before they were ever materialized. He's seeing the physical and the non-physical. If it wasn't for some of our top leaders really stepping in and owning that gut feeling, that intuition, that how did Steve know that these gadgets that we use today would actually be in such control of our lives and be so important? He got this way before we ever saw it. So when you realize that you've got superpowers, that you are a spiritual being, that you receive information, you might see things others don't see. You might hear things others don't hear. And then you can use those abilities, like clairgustance is clear tasting. This is all in the book. And people who have clairgustance are not only typically foodies, but if you know of somebody that's been having digestive issues, they are clairgustance, because clairgustance taste life through the digestive system. Think about it. It's going inside the body and down into the belly. So a lot of times, if there are esophageal issues or indigestions or my stomach hurts, you're a clairgustant. And what if you knew what your senses were, your sensory superpowers, and you knew how you receive information and you took that as a cue? Oh, because I'm having a hard time digesting what life is bringing me, it's out of alignment for me. I'm going to change my mind. All of these senses are useful in that way. And the reason that I wrote this book, I have 2 other books. Ava, we were talking about my other books last night. I've got 3. There's one that is The Inmate and the Medium. I'm not the inmate. I am the medium that helped him get out of prison years before he was supposed to, by doing the spiritual work, by dealing with the dark shadows. And then the prison couldn't hold him anymore. He got out years before he was supposed to. And then I wrote 65 Signs That You're an Older Soul, because I know that some of us are actually older souls and we're more aware. And I started realizing that we have the exact same patterns. Well, I have 2 other books that are written, but last year I'm lying in bed, Ava, and I hear, Tammy, you've got to do The Superpowers Unleashed next. You can't publish these other 2 books. And I went, why? And they said, people are crying to know who they are. They're hungry. They're tired of being told what to do. There's a whole shift going on, Ava, of us actually stepping into who am I, owning it, and rising as our sovereign selves. And this book is the beginning journey to that, when you can actually look at that book and go, oh my God, I had no idea that I was clairvoyant, or that I'm clairaudient, or that I have clairsent, or that clairsentience was so important and I can feel the decisions that I need to make. That is developing your intuition. And it gives you a high EQ, and it gives you insight, and it gives you foresight, and it gives you discernment, where you can decide what role people play in your life because you see them, hear them, smell them, taste them, feel it. Isn't that amazing? You're muted.
While you were talking about guts, I literally called a friend. I said, you gotta hear this, because she's on her way to ER right now because her Tammy's been hurting. And so when I heard you say exactly what you said, she's exactly that. So repeat that for me, because it was going to take several hours for us to hear that. But you said something about when you feel things in your gut, when your belly hurts. Repeat that for me. Someone really needed to hear that today.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do 2 of them. I'm going to do clairsent, which, have you ever heard people say, I smelled a rat when that person started talking, that is a warning sign. The ability to smell the essence of what the person is saying. Well, then clairsent and clairgustance are so close together because they're located here. Clairgustance is taking things in and tasting the essence of the energy, the essence of the person, the essence of what is going on in life. So I know that a lot of the symptoms that we have, like, I don't know why, but I'm being asked to tell the story. There was an attorney that hired me as an intuitive for another attorney that was going blind. And as soon as she sat down, because I know that vision is about seeing things or not wanting to see things, I said, "What do you not want to see?" She said, "I don't know." And I said, "Let me tap in. Let me tap in and I will tell you what it is that you don't want to see that's causing you in the physical to actually go blind." And I tapped in and I went, "Oh, wow." And she said, "What?" I said, "Do you remember the day that you went on a hike and I told her how many boys there were on the hike. She was the only female. And when they got to the top, they gang raped her. That one thing, that pain of being taken advantage of trusting those boys that she went to school with, and then they turned on her and used her body, had affected her entire life. And guess what? The very next morning, this attorney could see because she worked through forgiveness. So when you're thinking about your five senses, they are really good ways to give you the symptoms and the signs of what is going on the inside, in your inner guidance system, in your gut feeling. And clairgustance is being able to taste things and the essence of it. You have probably said or heard people say, "That person left a bad taste in my mouth." That is people who have the ability and the sensory superpower of clairgustance. So what I find is that when people are tasting life and it's not in alignment and they're more than that and they're in pain and they're hurting over their lives, they will develop esophageal or digestive issues or tummy aches because something in their life they're having a hard time digesting because it's not really what they came here to experience. They're more than that. So going through that kind of pain and then finding out, oh my God, that is actually my superpower. And now I can, every time my stomach gets knotted, every time it gets tight, every time I'm listening to something or someone is saying something to me that doesn't resonate, I will know my sign. And I'm not going to give them that power. And I'm going to take my power back. And I'm going to stand in that innate knowing of, oh, this is just a symptom. I can clear this. I tasted it and it didn't taste good. So we're typically foodies, those of us that are clairgustants, but we're also picking up on the energy of everything that people are saying and what our lives are showing us as symptoms that something is out of alignment with you and your higher self.
You know, we just have people agreeing with you in the comment. I had the excruciating stomach pain 2 weeks ago. Wonder if it was what you're talking about. She cleared it too by herself, just in like, she's my best friend. I know her, BFF. But what's amazing is, you know, the discovery of this whole new realm of gift, right? Like these are gifts from the divine, from the Almighty that we were created with, but just haven't been explained before. So Tammy, thank you so much for writing your books. How many books are we talking about?
I'm in 7 books and I have 2 more. One is in the editing process right now. And I just feel like I've got a lot of things and experiences that might actually help people because I have recipes that Spirit gave me to overcome homelessness, which is this home that you're seeing. I manifested this in less than 6 months. And I have these tools and these recipes and this information. And so I know that one of the callings on my life is to actually get that out, to teach it. And let me tell you something else that I'm doing, Ava, which I didn't even know existed. I'm about to record the Superpowers Unleashed. I'm about to record a video book for free that I'm going to be giving away to everybody. And there's a quiz that you can take for free to find out what your dominant sensory superpower is. How do you receive information? How do you receive insight? How do you get the warning signs? How do you know if somebody is in alignment, even in a business decision or a client? Are they the right fit for me? Am I the right fit for them? You can feel it. You can experience it through your five senses. And then you can start reading people like I do, where you see what they're not showing you. You're hearing their thoughts. And let me tell you, that's very valuable when you are about service and you really want to help and they don't even know that you're reading them. Well, they do with me because that's what I do for a living.
Wow. Wow. I am so blown away. Tammy, how can people reach you? How can they order your book?
They can order the book from Amazon.com or they can go to my website. Go to my website, TammyDeMirza.com. You'll find the quiz. There's a course to help you even further. There is free content. I'm about to record the video book. You can sit in the audience and ask me questions after I read each of the chapters. I'm giving away a lot of some of my best content in that for free. And then I also give opportunities and, hey, somebody's giving something away, or I saw this video and it's really good. I like feeding people. I like people's hunger being, satisfied, because I believe that we are in a world that is so busy, so bombarded by people selling to us, that it's time for them to receive and to get some things for free, and then to take it even deeper and invest in themselves and transform their lives. You can do it. I know you can.
Good. And this is the perfect transition. You just transitioned us to life being very, very busy. To our next speaker, Tammy, thank you for all the gems, for all the gifts that you have brought, for your books that you have written, for the gift that you are to the world. Make sure that you connect with Tammy, TammyDeMirza.com. If her superpowers is one that can support you, and would love to have you find your superpowers and also remove the blocks in your life so that you can create your book, your legacy, and the impact that you get to make in the world. Tammy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And upcoming next, talk about busy life, right? Our upcoming author, best-selling author, also is the founder and CEO of TFO Solutions. We're going to have to ask her what TFO is when she comes in. But she's got an extensive experience in accounting and finance, and she's trusted leader by some of the biggest leaders. You hear some names, to be controller to CFOs in many different industries, as retail, e-commerce, healthcare, restaurants, nonprofit organizations, and manufacturing. How can one person do all of this, right? And that's why she writes a book, because not all of it fits in one website. So bringing on the stage, Tina Obanion. Tina, welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune.
Hi, guys. Hi, Ava. How are you?
Amazing.
Thank you for having
We've just
me.
been hearing back to back from authors who are just giving tools, giving resources, giving value. And it's so beautiful to even see this aspect of authorship. The people that I've been speaking to in the last hour, they created their book to give tools to people. It's not even that to make money, and as giving tools to people, it's creating business and connections for them. But it's pretty phenomenal to realize that books are our vessel as creatives, as what's the word for it? Like, we have a lot, when you carry a lot and you feel so full, like you can put it in books. So Tina, tell us a book that has inspired you, that has changed your life.
Well, I was given a book about 1.5 years ago, and it's called The Miracle Morning, and I pulled it out, and I've got all kinds of little tabs and notes on it. And it's by Hale Elrod. And he took some very successful CEOs, and he said, what gets them motivated in the morning, and how do they accomplish their day? And he said that the not so obvious secret guaranteed to transform your life before 8 a.m. And he goes through all of these different things that the top CEOs, top business leaders in America and abroad use every day so that they can get motivated and get their mindset right for every single day. It's 15 minutes a day I spend on it. It's a wonderful book. There's a lot of books out there that I love reading, but this is one that
You
I
still
keep going
use
back
it,
to.
Tina? You still use it?
I do. I
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
do.
Okay. I've heard so much about it. I've been in the clubhouse room of Miracle Mornings. I've spent so many mornings with the Miracle Morning Club, but have not gotten the book. So I will get that book.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you should.
And it's funny too, because I'm also at a season in my life where I am wanting to change my morning routine. I'm a what I call a nocturnal creature. So I'm not a miracle morning person, but I have this craving in me to explore what it's like to be a miracle morning person recently. So perfect timing. Talk about synchronicity. You're
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking for. And this is the power of sharing what book has changed you, what has impacted you, because sometimes it's also what other people are exactly looking for. So thank you for sharing that, Tina. Now tell us, having been inspired and in a sense transformed in many ways by the practices of the miracle morning, what inspired you to write your own book?
Well, I met Angel Tussey at Bill Walsh's Rainmaker, and when I met her, she was just so dynamic. We're so much alike, and she's like, the world needs to hear your story. And I always had, written down in a journal all my experiences in corporate America of what not to do and all these things. Like, these are just warning things, that some of the experiences that I've encountered, like finding embezzlement and fraud from the CEO and founder of a company that embezzled $1.4 million, if not greater than that. And I was the whistleblower. And, I wrote in my journal, I'm like, this is just the craziest thing I've ever had to go through. And it taught me resilience. It taught me that I was an effective leader. And it just taught me that ethics was my core calling. I had a choice to walk out and leave all the 60 employees there and turn a blind eye. But given my role, I had a fiduciary responsibility to stick up to him and say, that's not right. What you're doing is not right. And so I've had these journals along the way in my corporate experience. And I thought, now that I'm an entrepreneur and I help small businesses with accounting and all the way to fractional CFO work, I needed to tell them this is what they need to look after and look for. And so that's why I wrote Falling Up with Grace, because I had all of this in my mind. And I wrote it in a way that is not a how to understand your finances. It's not any of that. It was just all these stories I had accumulated that I think CEOs really need to know the truth about paying attention to your financial statements, and also all the mishaps that Grace, named after my grandmother, she was an entrepreneur herself, that she kind of went through in the eyes of an entrepreneur. And you kind of go through her journey in the beginning, middle, and ending. And that's what I wanted to share, is that you don't have to do this alone.
Wow. And I love that you actually, as a legacy of your grandmother, falling up with grace. I love every single bit of it. Falling up,
Yes.
with grace. And even the word grace, as it's your grandma's name, grace means a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
this, it's just so intriguing. It's almost like one of those, in our first launch hour of the global broadcast last Saturday, we had 4 of the biggest authors in the industry in one screen. We had the guy who began, massive bestsellers. His name is Robert G. Allen, 1 Minute Millionaire, No Down Payment and such. Sharon Lecter, John Gray, Men Are From Mars, Women Is From Venus. And they were talking about what is the most important thing in writing a book that would take off. And the number one thing everyone agreed on the screen is the title. It starts with the title. So they told the story of how John Gray, I'm going to go make myself a little bigger. They told the story about how John Gray's book, we know Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, was not titled that way, on the first one, and it did not go anywhere. And then they retitled it, republished it with the title, and it took off because of the title.
I did not know that.
The power of the title. And I feel like your title is all that, like falling up with grace. And so I'm so excited that you wrote your book. And what tip would you give for people that you consider, first of all, like who you're writing this book for? Who are you writing this book for? And what's a tip that you would like to give them?
Well, I would say tip number one is, really, as a CEO, we wear many hats, right? We've got to wear our HR hat. We've got to hire. We've got to fire. We've got to, build. We're the visionary. We're the ones out there, looking to the future. And I would say take a moment and really understand your numbers. I mean, really, at the end of the day, there's a story in each one of those financial statements that it's telling you. And since I started my business 6 years ago, you wouldn't be surprised, but a lot of CEOs don't look at their numbers on a regular basis. They don't even know how to read them. So I think the number one tip would be to understand your numbers and ask for them. So many CEOs have either a CPA that gets their taxes done and they feel very confident that, hey, I've got my taxes done every year. I'm doing the right thing. And then they have maybe paying their bills, maybe processing payroll, all those things. But I think that if you just take a step back and really, really understand your numbers, you can grow and accelerate your business tenfold or hundredfold just by paying attention to that. And that is one of the reasons why I have taken Following Up with Grace, the story, and I've implemented a brand new clarity methodology that I am rebirthing into a new book called The Clarity Code. And the Clarity Code has 7 steps that I'll be explaining to CEOs to kind of go through not only knowing their numbers, but that's step number 1. And then there's 6 preceding steps to that. So I am launching this new book at the end of this month, along with a workbook so that you can follow along with that and do your own steps, or a masterclass. So that is all exciting and coming out, and I'm just so thrilled. I took all of my experiences as a CFO in corporate America, and I'm like, what are the things that I had when I was working for $1 billion company or, $100 million company? What did I have access to? I had access to all of these people and these strategies and all of these resources that CEOs of smaller companies, say they're $1 million or even $500,000 in revenue, they still need to know these things to take their business to the next level. And that's why I wrote the Clarity Code. So that is about to come out. I'm super excited. I think these methodologies and all the things that I've got in this book will really help the next CEO to kind of accelerate their business without the expense of a full-time CFO. Well, that's what we do. We do fractional part-time CFO work, but we also do the basic bookkeeping, because if that's not right, then your CFO is looking at wrong data.
I'm just blown away. One of the things that I was asking is like with the word fractional, because most recently I've been seeing fractional more, like there are fractional COOs, there are, and there are fractional even AI specialists, and what I'm realizing is it's companies that are not big enough to hire a full-time executive, but they definitely need one. And so now there is a new provision for those who used to work full-time to now like just fraction their
expertise skills. Or their skills. Yeah.
and talents. And so I'm so excited for you being ahead of that curve, because the way I see it, I have a book that's coming up, and it's about how closures and layoffs is the best news that happened for your future. And it's because of the redistribution of economics, the redistribution of economics from what used to be just big huge corporations to now there are small businesses and small entrepreneurs that are filling the gap of big businesses not able to pivot, because it's hard to pivot big shifts, right? So with the change of globalization, technology, AI, it's so hard to steer big ships. I mean, imagine this, like for example, for an organization to a huge organization with thousands of employees, and and even more, tens of thousands of branches, it would require millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to to change their software, right? To do retraining in their software, to even train their leaders. It's just so massive. And so what's happening is they're not able to pivot as fast. And these businesses are being overtaken or replaced by smaller ones that can pretty much like be on a speedboat and out, right?
Yes.
So I'm excited for your resource that you're providing, this new what do you call this, new wave, this new
Yes.
wave of entrepreneurs, this new wave of businesses, so that they're not walking in blind. Because the hardest thing, for example, they're very very good at what they do, but what do they know about bookkeeping? What do they know about CFO work? And this is where most businesses fail, right? So to be able to have a fractional CFO that can overlook that part is definitely, like you said, it can even catapult their income just for being able to develop awareness of their business, the finances of their business.
Yeah, that was the key for me starting my business about 6 years ago. I knew I had always had a side hustle, like helping my friends and family and kind of start their business and, use QuickBooks or whatever software at the time. And, and then they got to a certain point that they didn't need me anymore. And so that was just a side hustle. But then I started seeing and networking, because I'm really big in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and I'm always building relationships and powerful relationships. And I started seeing a lot of the older gentlemen that were retired from being a CFO, but they just wanted to get back out there, and they were all these fractional CFOs. I said, well, okay, that's interesting, but what about doing all of the things, all of the basic bookkeeping to your controller to your CFO? What about encompassing all three levels? And that's the services that we provide to our clients, making sure that the foundation is accurate, all the historical transactions are, recorded correctly, and there's budgets and all the things are put together in a nice package, and the controller reviews that. And then you've got that strategy piece for the CFO to work side by side with the CEO to say, hey, what's going on in your mind? Where are your goals? We set goals. Now we're gonna have some action plan to those goals. It's so exciting because the clarity methodology that I'm rolling out covers all of those areas that ultimately yield tremendous results. That's what I'm excited about. So I knew that there was a gap. And so you asked earlier, what does TFO stand for? And it stands for the financial office. So we're the financial office that takes care of all your things regarding HR, accounting, strategy, all those things. And so I've got a team. We're building momentum with this new clarity methodology. I've trained my staff on it. They're super pumped. They're like, oh my God, this is so brilliant, So
well, I have to tell you got to really build, because this is the wave of the future. I mean, imagine, how do you even keep up with all of the changes in HR laws? Do you even if you had hired an HR person as a new business, like how, right? But even how do they how do they keep up with all of the changes? And so to hire the financial office, honestly, all of our authors didn't pay me. I know I'm such a great promoter. It feels like they're advertising. All our authors came in because of their books. They came because of their books, because we love books of the Los Angeles Tribune. But it just makes sense to me, like what they do makes sense, So tell us about your book before I start over marketing you and what you do. Tell us about your book.
Well, I think we mentioned Following Up with Grace, and the new book really is what I'm focusing on. It's a rebirth of Following Up with Grace.
Okay.
And
so in a few weeks, search you up in Amazon, Tina
Obanion.
Apostrophe there. Banyan.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tina, I'd like to give you a moment to tell entrepreneurs your message out there. I know, like Nicole is right in the back, the next speaker, and you're getting her excited because you speak her language. Alignment. I tell you the alignment in this talk. Okay, so Tina, the stage is yours.
Okay, well, thank you. So, I wish for all CEOs to lead and make decisions that are data-based decisions versus gut guesses. I think a lot of CEOs, they have a great vision, a great idea. I just really want to hone in the importance of, understanding the data and the things that they're telling you. My 30 years experience, I started working when I was 8 years old. That has taught me these valuable lessons to lead with resilience, to lead with integrity, and to understand the data. So I hope that you can go check me out with my new book that's going on Amazon at the end of this month. And you'll start seeing me all over social media. If you follow me on social media, it's Tina Obanion, that without the apostrophe, TinaObanion. Instagram, LinkedIn, all the things.
Without the apostrophe?
There's no apostrophe on all of my socials. It's just at Tina Obanion. You'll see the blonde here. And
my proposal is next time put it as how it shows up in your social on your name. I was gonna put the apostrophe, but Tina, I want to thank you. And what I want to say is you also are a nominated critical acclaim bestseller for the Los Angeles Tribune. Our editorial staff is still going through the work, and I know that you are nominating your upcoming book. So there would be, definitely news all over. Once Tina's book comes out, we're so excited for you, the future of your company and what you do, Tina. Thank you for all the tips and the insights that you gave entrepreneurs out there. From the words of our mentor co-together, Bill Walsh, this is the best time for entrepreneurship. Like it's a great time for entrepreneurs. So thank you.
Well, and if someone wants to get a hold of me, they can text the word numbers to 26786. That's the word numbers to 26786. If you want to reach me, you can kind of stay informed of what's going on and when things are going to be and where I'm going to be next, because I'm doing lots of speaking engagements and I'm here to go. Thank you, Bill Walsh and Ava.
And Angel Tusi.
And Angel Tusi. I mean, there's so many people. And I knew Tammy that came on right before me. And then Ava, you and I met in March here in Dallas.
And what's amazing is we know that we never rise alone, right? So there's a lot of people to thank. People to thank.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you so much. Looking forward to tuning in to the rest of the speakers.
Absolutely has been a pleasure. Thank you for all the gifts and insights that you have provided our audience. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Okay. Thank you, Ava.
Well, that is exciting. Our next speaker. Brace yourself. We've got two more. That we have our closing speaker, our keynote speaker for today is a relationship expert. And I actually am the proud co-creator of his TEDx speech. And I also, Speaker Eric Swanson, you are so sweet. We've got a cheerleader on our audience. So our our keynote speaker is a relationship expert, and I wish that he could like speak his TEDx talk today and his closing, because it's so good. It's so good. But we've got another best-selling author. When we first met, she was second guessing if she should write a chapter of a book in a chapter compilation. And now she's got multiple books. So let me just tell you how your life starts once you write a chapter of one book. On the comment section is, Eric Swanson, who also creates a lot of compilations, getting people started to just start one chapter and evolves into like himself with 31 books. But our next speaker is on a mission to empower individuals to live out their God-given purpose with the freedom that Christ sacrificed for. So you could tell she's a Christian life coach. She's an author, best-selling author of multiple compilation books. Had coached also in the compilation book of some leaders, and she's an encouragement speaker dedicated to helping clients overcome obstacles. She is also in the finance world, helping people in their bookkeeping, just like our previous speaker, Tina, which is why she was getting excited. Let me bring on stage Nicole Chantel Freeman. Welcome, Chantel. Nicole, I went by your second name. So Nicole, we are excited to welcome you at the Los Angeles Tribune. When we first met each other, you were asking me, Coach Ava, should I do the chapter in this book? I'm like, why is that a question? Tell us what inspired you first to write your first book, other than the title. The title is it. So it's actually my co-authors in this book. She got me to write it too, because she first said she was asking, should I write this book, the chapter in this book? I'm like, you really should, and I should too. So we both are in this book together. So tell us about your first book, Nicole.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that warm introduction, Ava, and everyone. I love Ava. I love her energy, her encouragement, and her support. Yes, we wrote in this book here, Ignite Your Faith. And when this opportunity came to me, yes, I was second guessing myself. And after talking to you, Ava, I realized, yeah, I get to get this story out into the world, and just listening to people who did read my chapter in that compilation book, and the lives that were transformed, the story that I wrote about, my life, that it touched lives. And that's what I think I really understood before I said yes. I was like, you know what? It's bigger than me. It's not about me. So that's what really got me to get the story out there. Is it's not about me, Nicole. It's not about you.
That's very true. I'm just looking at the comments. Get your story out to the world. Speaker Eric Sanson is encouraging you, get your story out there. But this journey is so beautiful. I can't even like. I didn't realize that this conversation is going to go where it's going. When I invited you, I know you've already written multiple books. I don't know how many now, Nicole.
Well, Ava, I've written in 3 compilation books. And like you said, yes, I did coach in one of the books. And I am working on my solo book right now.
That is amazing. Starting with one book, right? But going back to that journey of the first book, because there's always that first when you were hesitating, you don't really know, if it's going to be worth it for me to even write a chapter. What was your experience like going through kind of like picking your life story, because you're only writing a chapter, like which part of my life in my whole life am I going to write about, and talk about faith, and my whole life is about faith, right? So what was your journey like in writing your first chapter?
Well, honestly, I say I wrote this book for others, right, to get out into the world, correct? And I did. However, I didn't realize, even writing this chapter and reliving that part of my life, that I wrote this book for myself as well. I didn't realize the Nicole I had become. I didn't realize I was so resilient. I didn't realize I was so relentless. So I learned so much about myself while writing this story, and it was extremely emotional. Like you said, though it was one chapter, there were moments where I had to just stop writing and put it down, because reliving it, I'm like, wow, I actually went through that. And though it was tragic, what I wrote about, though it was heartfelt and like gut wrenching, what I went through, I'm like, wow, I actually got to the other side of it. So I got to celebrate myself too.
Yeah, for sure. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I love how you're unselfish. So, we have different motivations, right? Like a while ago, one of our speakers, Bhavna Sravastava, wrote it as tools for people. You wrote it for others. I think I decided to write that chapter because of the title, because it's about faith, and
Yeah.
faith played a big role in my life. Like, faith saw me through. Like, I having raised in very, very difficult conditions as a child, I would have not made it as well as I made it if it wasn't for faith. And I felt like I owed it to my creator to write that story, that chapter of faith. And so to me, that was my motivation and intention, is to honor how faith has seen me through in my life. And even for me, my experience in writing that chapter was like, I literally cried for myself. Like I didn't realize I never cried for my childhood. Never did. Like, I didn't cry for my little kid. Like, I justified everything. As kids, we justify, my grandmother, did the same thing to my mother. She doesn't know any different. Like, she's working very hard. I don't know why, but at least my tendency is to justify other people. But I realized that when I wrote the chapter, I have never really cried for myself, and that was such a healing moment, to be able to do that. And the beauty and the gift of writing that chapter is I actually never knew how good I wrote until I wrote that chapter. I've been writing in articles already, but being in that compilation book, giving credit to whom the credit is due. This is J.B. Owen's Ignite series. And so their process is multiple editors, right? So tell us a little bit about that process, because you were one of the coaches that did that too.
Yes. Again, like you said, definitely thanking, Lady J.B. Owen for her brand Ignite, getting so many stories out there. And like you stated, yes, I loved this experience because, yes, there were multiple editing sessions. However, there was also pods that we had that were safe spaces for us as writers, because as we both stated, when we both wrote in a compilation book, it can get a little bit emotional. So having the coaching in those small spaces to hold space for you, it's a space that you get to release. So yes, I got to be one of those coaches for some of these authors where they needed that. You know what I mean? Because as we both stated, it's so emotional when you're going back and you're writing this chapter. You don't realize the emotions that are going to come up. So this was an amazing, as you can see, I wrote in it 3 times. This was an amazing experience for me, writing in a compilation book, because it wasn't just, we went to 3 editing sessions. No, it was actual coaching that we got. It was actual, like I said, people holding space for you. And it was literally caring about you, caring about your words, caring about your story. And as you stated also, the editors, though they are amazing at their jobs, they didn't change the tone of each author. That's what I loved about it as well.
Absolutely. Like you said, so sometimes, for people, there are multiple and many compilation books out there, but it also warms people up into writing. I personally have gained so much in writing in a compilation book, despite having written and been writing a lot for myself. But some of the benefits I gain are feedback. Like, I actually didn't know how good I write until I came to the compilation book. Because here's the thing, like, the things that we're really good at, this is a principle in life. Know this, like, know this in your whole soul, know this in your heart. The things that you're really, really good at, that you're gifted at, for the most part, you don't know. Because you're so good at it. It comes so freaking naturally. Like, people would ask me all my life to, like, write, even in high school, write thesis for them, write speeches for them, right? And I do it for free. It's so much fun. Tell me, like, oh, what's your topic? What are you going to be writing about? And I'm going to go research it, and I'm going to go write a stellar thing, for them without charging. I never thought of, because it's fun. It's it's easy. And even, like, I would have people say, hey, can you just, like, how much is it to edit a chapter? I said, just a chapter? Just give it to me. It's fun. It's free, seriously, because I'm so good at it. Like, it's so easy, the things that you're good at, you don't even know how good you are at, because it comes natural. And then the second thing is the things that you're really, really good at, that your superpowers are really at, people would have beaten it down. People have made it wrong, because it's not normal. Like, you're better than others. They're gonna say, oh, you're doing it wrong. Well, of course, you're not average, and so even the things that, like, so this is my experience. When I was going through that, they were editing all of my grammars, like, the grammars are wrong, and then they get to the end of the chapter and they're like, oh, I see what you did here. And then they undo all of the corrections. And so that happened 3 times until it was at Lady JB Owen's final edit. And this happened the same thing. She removed all of my grammars. But what I did differently, that I didn't even know I write that way, was that I would go back to the present as a child, and I would write in the present tense. So initially, when they didn't know I was doing that, they would correct it as past tense, but I was going back and I would weave it back in, and I would tie it to a time in the present, and then I would, like, almost like envision myself in childhood and bring it back and still speak in the present as a teenager. So everything was in present tense. It was confusing, but when they realized the ending of it, they're like, wow, this is such an advanced writing. Lady JB Owen told me, like, wow, like, I've never seen this level of writing. You use the silver thread that you weave through, and I'm like, just jaw dropped. I'm like, I was doing this for free. Right? That's the beauty of being able to, like, write with a compilation and get feedback. To me, like, it really has been so nurturing for me. It has made my writing so much more clear, because when you know you're good at something, now you get laser, right?
Yes. So
and it's the beauty of you doing even your coaching with compilation books, is you see the greatness in people that they don't see in themselves.
That's right. And hearing you say all this, honestly, I had forgotten, because of life, I had forgotten that how much I loved writing over the years. And I remember when I finished writing in the first compilation book, my sister sends me a picture of my younger self. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and it said #1 author. And I'm holding up a story I had written. And then I remembered it was prophesied over me that I would become an author and write in books. And I'm like, no, I'm a mom. And I was a wife at the time. I'm divorced now, but I was a wife at the time. I was like, I'm a stay-at-home wife and a mom. No. So it all just came flooding back, Alva. It all just came back. And I was like, wow, like, this is really what I'm living right now. Like, I'm living that 8-9-year-old Nicole, as well as what was prophesied over me, that I would become an author and write in books. Write my
Oh,
book.
so Nicole, in closing, I wanted to encourage our watchers, our readers, our listeners from around the globe. You know what's amazing about the Los Angeles Tribune is when we go online, we've got people from Kenya, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, from Philippines, from, of course, Europe, Australia, everywhere in America. But this broadcast reaches people that normally would not be able to hear things like this or know things like this. And the same thing with the Los Angeles Tribune bestseller. The LA Tribune bestseller is a project of the Los Angeles Tribune to level up the playing field. It's not about the number of sales. It's not about the number of investments someone has on the book. It's about the impact of what you wrote about. And so the same thing, because we have a global responsibility to give equal voices to everyone, regardless of where they are, where they were born, and what their status are in life. So Nicole, would love to hear, what are some of the tips that you can give to people who have not yet considered writing, who are second guessing about writing, or their voice, the value of what they have to say, their message? What's a message you would say?
Well, first of all, I would love for everyone to know, if you are alive and breathing, you have a story. You have a story, and you get to. It's a choice. Yes, it is. However, you get to get your story out there into the world, because again, it's bigger than you. It's not just about you. It's about that person who's going to read the words on the page. It's about that person that you don't know. You're going to impact their lives. You may be, like Ava just stated, in Kenya, and you impacting lives in Australia. Again, it's bigger than you. So I just say, push past the fear and get it done. You got this. If Nicole Freeman could do it, you can too. And again, do it
past the fear.
Yes.
Push past the fear. That's a whole conversation in itself, exactly, that you just tapped into, that we will have to talk at a different time. Push past the fear. I'm like, what are you afraid of? Like, that's the first thing that came to me, is like, what are you afraid of, right? And I get it. Like my BFF, who just launched her book a few days ago, she was afraid to be known. She was afraid that people would know her story. She was afraid that, what would people say? People would say, who do you think you are, to write your books, and all of those thoughts. But know that you matter, your voice matters, and your story matters.
It matters.
And yeah, for sure. And it can touch someone else's life. So Nicole, how can people get a hold of your book?
Well, you can definitely email me. Sorry, I didn't put my email up there, Ava, but it is Nicole Freeman Consulting at gmail.com.
And you're also doing a Christian community gathering, right? Something like that.
I am. Yes, it's moving past scarcity mindset into abundance mindset. I'm all about abundance.
And you're like my BFF. Yeah. I should connect it to Daniela. Daniela, my BFF, is the abundance coach. But make sure that you email her. Like I said, all of the authors that we bring are authors that we just have reached out to us, that have really inspired in writing books. And Nicole is one that has inspired me from thinking twice, about maybe 5 times, about being a co-author on a compilation, to now being an author of 3 books and working on her solo book upcoming. So Nicole, thank you for being the inspiration that you are. And for our audience, thank you. For our audience, we are on to our closing keynote speaker. He probably does not know that he's the closing keynote speaker of day 4. That's what happens. But here at the Los Angeles Tribune, when you're in our community, opportunities can arise at any moment. So let me just give you our commercial, and when we come back, I will introduce you who our closing keynote speaker is.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We have earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility. For general inquiries, contact today. Thank you on behalf of the Los Angeles Tribune team.
Up and coming live and direct here at the Los Angeles Tribune is our wonderful closing keynote speaker of the day. I am so proud of our keynote speaker. You know, we've worked together in breakthrough clarity to expertise. Not sure if it was 3 workshops or 4 workshop rounds, but the level of wisdom of this man, and yet the level of humility and alignment and resonance is like none that I've seen in others. And thus he's the relationship coach, because it literally flows out of him. I was just telling to our audience that I'm so proud of the TEDx talk that our closing speaker has put together in our workshop. And I wish that he would actually be able to render his TEDx talk in the Los Angeles Tribune Global broadcast one of these days. But of course, I didn't tell him about it, so he wouldn't be ready for that. I think he wouldn't be. But our closing keynote speaker is a masterful relationship expert, best-selling author of the book. Where is the book? I've got the book in here. The book, 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. He's an international speaker, podcaster, and a spiritual guide dedicated to helping strong, successful women and men attract a healthy relationship with their authentic and passionate partner. So if you have a friend, someone you know that would love to hear this today, make sure you tag them, you call them. A while ago, you know, we have one of our speakers, Tammy, DeMirza, and she was speaking about something. I was in the back, took myself off the screen, was calling my friend, get on right now. You know, so this is the time where you do that to your friend, because friends care and friends share. We have a masterful relationship expert. You can ask questions. Our keynote speaker that's closing us for the day, welcome to the stage, Mr. Barry Selby. Barry, welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune Global broadcast for Book Lovers Week. And
Thank you for making me feel so humbled.
And thank you for personally gifting this book to me.
My pleasure.
I love this book. I even have a dedication on it. See, I've got my signature on the book. So, Barry, as we start with you being our closing keynote speaker, of course, I'll have you just speak on relationship and, you know, for struggles in relationship and such. But I first wanted to ask you, what's a book that has impacted you, that has changed your life?
Oh, wow. I think most recently, the book that's changed my life more than anything. Actually, no, let me get back to the beginning. The first book that changed my life way, way back was a book by Richard Bach, which was Jonathan Livingston Seagull. That book I read in my teens, and it changed me internally, even though I didn't know consciously what had happened. After then reading Illusions by him, it really put me in a path to my spiritual understanding that I didn't even know that it was relevant. That's the word, relevant. And so it's always been part of my core values. And I've read so many books over the years, fiction and nonfiction. I think the most recent book,
I have heard a lot about Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but I have not picked up the book myself. So thank you for that.
Read. You read it in an hour. It's such a fast read, but it's such a wonderful reminder of what's possible. Even though it's not about people, it's about seagulls, you know.
When was it published? Do you know?
It's got to be in the 70s, I think. It's been out a long time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm just curious, okay, me and my curiosity, but thank you for sharing that book. This is why it's important for us to share the book that has changed us, that has impacted us, because it could help others. So I'm going to go pick up that book, especially if it's an hour read. I am flying, you know, might as well read the whole thing in a flight.
Yeah, why not?
And I mean, and if it changed and impacted you from a teenage life and put you in a trajectory, I'm like, imagine that. Like, where on earth do you would like to spend an hour of your life? You know, would you rather have it scrolling aimlessly or read a book that has changed someone's life from teenager and have set the trajectory for where you are right now. That is so powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Barry. Thank you from
Welcome.
starting from the start. Now, talking about inspiration in the trajectory of your life, like what has inspired you more than just the book? Because the book is just an extension of who you are. It's not really about writing a book, but it's about, it's about just expressing what you stand for, your real core value. What has inspired you to be in the direction that you're in right now as a masterful relationship expert of strong men and women?
I say it this way, although that at the time it wasn't inspiring me, but my relationship breakups were the most inspirational things because they pushed me to where I need to go. I hated the experience. I was in deep upset, grief, and all these different things, and resentment, all this stuff. But once I got through the emotional baggage and really got to forgiveness for myself, I saw through the lens of clarity that what they'd done is pushed me, motivated me, inspired me to become a better student about relationships, is what put me in this work in the first place.
Okay, I have to say I'm giddy. I'm just goosebumps everywhere. And this is the story of you have created mastery out of the mess in your life that
Absolutely.
you've gotten trained on, you've gotten forged on, you've gotten bent on. And this goes to say, like if you're finding yourself repeating challenges over and over and over and freaking over again, chances are you're actually called to solve it. And here you are, is the life and the living walking testimony and witness to that someone who's walked through all of the mess is the one called to actually walk others out of that mess. So wow. Barry, tell us, at what point of your journey as a masterful relationship expert did you start to create your book?
This book actually happened, well, it started happening in 2011. I'd been doing this work for a while at that point. And I'd basically asked a friend of mine, how do I share what I do in my work? What my work's about? And he said, well, this is back when Facebook was still fairly new by comparison. He said, put out on social media what you believe about relationships. So I put little paragraphs every day, every couple of days, things I thought about relationships that are relevant, like about healing your own wounds. Bottom line, to be a better partner, to be attracted to a better partner was my message. After a couple of months, I'd posted 50, 60 different ideas. And this is where the fun begins. I had asked a very simple question, which is things I love to do. I asked myself a question, is what I'm going to do with these things? I had these little quotes. I put them in a Word document, and I thought, well, maybe I'll do a workshop or I'll do a newsletter. And this voice, and I call it the still small voice, but it was spirit talking to me, said, write a book. And I was like, no, I can't write a book. I'm not an author. It's not my thing. And so for about 2 weeks, I would ask the question, get the same answer, and then ignore the answer. This happened again for about 2 weeks. And finally, after about 2 weeks of this voice, never changing tone or being upset with me, just simply saying, write a book. Inside, I got so frustrated because that voice did not walk away, did not change tone, did not change the message. Internally, I turned to face that voice and said, fine, how do I do it? And that voice said, here's how you do it. And it showed me basically that I'd already built the skills to create the book, both physically, because I knew how to do graphic design and helped other people publish their books, but also those little paragraphs I'd written were the chapter headings. All I need to do was sort out the best ones, put them in the right order, and explain, because one of my gifts is I'm good at explaining things, but not always good at starting things. One of my natural gifts is to expand from ideas. And my book basically had all the ideas in it. All I had to do was expand them into chapters. And this is the thing about it was, once I said yes to that, it took me 6 weeks to write the whole book, which is a record, I'm sure. But then I got scared and put it away for a year. So it took me a year and a half to put the book out, finally, in 2013. And it's been out now for 12 years. And in 2023, I did a revision of the book and revised it for a new edition, which is the current version that's out there in the world.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I've heard some of those that they've been blogging on social media. And then now they just like almost hired a VA to scrub their blogs. And now literally it is a book. And that's one of the things that I, you just led me to a place where I could share, one of the superpowers that I do. I was not in media. I didn't know that I would be back in media. It was something that I dreamt of as a young kid, but I didn't know that I'd be back in media because I gave up media and journalism when I, have my first child at 17 years old, and I decided I would, study for something stable. So I was in the healthcare industry. Mm-hmm. But what's amazing is, you're always led to where you're called, right? You're always led to where you're called. And when I was looking at your book, I ended up with chapter 24, number 24. It's not necessarily chapter 24, but it's number 24. But one of the things that I do really well is like when doctors say, because I'm in the healthcare industry in the past, when doctors say, well, I don't have time to write my book. I'm like, the truth is your book is written, mm-hmm. like whether it is in the lectures that you've given, in the many talks that you've been interviewed at, in the places that you've taught, your book's written. All we just have to do now is just gather all of the places that you've talked, where you're in YouTube, where you're on stage, and get all of the transcript of that. And your book is written. Like, you don't have to write your book, it's written, and just compiling right. it together and editing it is. And so I love what you did here, the 50 ways to love your lover. And number 24, for some reason somebody might need to hear this, if I may read it, Barry. Be your partner's biggest cheerleader. Mm-hmm. Support them to manifest and share their gifts and service in the world. And then he begins it with, it's very short read, like literally, like each number you can read in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Or less. And then he's got like notes, reflections for you to write on in every number, so that you can keep a track of like what comes up for you, or if you're really doing it. I think this is an action plan book, Barry. I think this is what you meant for this. But this one says, were you ever a cheerleader? Have you ever played on a team that was supported by cheerleaders? If you have, you know how this feels, how uplifted you can become, how inspiring it can be, and how much better you played. So be a cheerleader for your partner. So thank you for that, Barry. Now, how has the book impacted both your voice, your business, and your impact? What opportunities has the book opened up for you?
Frankly, the book's given me, well, right here, being on this live stream's been part of it. I've lost count now, probably 35, 40 interviews at least. No, it's probably 50 now. Podcast interviews and radio interviews I've had because of the book. It's interesting that even though everything I talk about is in the book, I talk about in my work, the book gives me a certain level of edification or of respect that I still don't understand at some point. But having the physical book opens doors for me. And I've been introduced to some great people and connections, affiliates, partnerships, and introduction to certain circles of people who love my work because of my book. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity. And it's really been a pleasant surprise how much it's opened the door for me. I'll say it that way.
This is why I say that you are masterful at what you do. I mean, you didn't just end up being a relationship coach. You really are educated in the industry. Yeah. You are very, very educated in the industry, 20, 30 years of practice and experience in, is it psychology?
I have a master's degree in spiritual psychology, and also have 25 years as a spiritual counselor as well.
Right. And yet the humility, Barry, the humility, I think I get to like, add some bragginess to you. Add some bragginess, because the humility that you carry yourself with, you're not a novice just trying to figure relationships out. This is your life's calling. You were equipped for this. You were trained for this, and you see things differently because you walked it. You walked it. You walked through the pain. You had your personal self-discovery. I love your part of your TED Talk that we co-created together in the Breakthrough Clarity to Expert Space. Do you remember your TEDx, the first part of your TEDx Talk?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I didn't study it and memorize it, but I definitely loved reading it. So it's something that I'm grateful for. In fact, let me
Well,
do
I
this.
remember it very well because it impacted me. I'm like, wow, there are things that you can try to teach to people 100 different ways and they will not get it. And then all
Mhm.
of a sudden you put it into a song like I can buy myself flowers, and then it lands. It makes sense. Like you can teach women self-reliance, independence, be your own, agency, and they will never get it until Miley Cyrus sings, I can buy myself flowers, and all of a sudden it lands. They get it. Right. And Barry's TEDx style talk was like that. Like you could teach men over and over how like why they're okay at fault, quote unquote, they're at fault of the relationships that they're creating, and they will never get it. They will resist it. They will point fingers, and it's just the men. It's men and women, right? They will, but they will not admit it until you hear Barry's TEDx talk. Barry, if you remember, I will say your TEDx talk if you don't recall it, or do you want to say it?
I can find it. I found it. Yeah, so I can read the first
Okay,
part of it.
okay. Ladies and gentlemen, let's brace yourself because this thing has impacted me. Okay, Barry, I want to. Nicole is clapping at the back when she wants to hear it. She wants to, at least the part up to the part where you did a mic drop. Where you had the realization of what's really going on. So let's hear it, Barry.
Okay, so the title of my TED Talk is "Reclaiming Your Worth: A Journey to Confidence and Courage." So let me take you back to one of the most painfully awkward moments of my life. The day my ex-partner sat me down, looked me square in the eye, and unleashed a truth bomb so brutal it could have been a monologue in a soap opera. You don't listen, Barry. You try so hard to be what you think I want, but it's not real. I can't do this anymore. Ouch, right? I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. But here's the thing. She wasn't wrong. That conversation, as much as it hurt, was the moment I realized I was the common denominator in all my failed relationships. And as I sat there, holding the emotional wreckage of my own love life in my hands, I made a decision. I was going to figure out how to get this right, not just for my next relationship, but for myself. You want me to continue?
I love it. Thank you so much. You wrote a lot of iterations of this. Because I
Yes.
remember the other one that I wrote. This is beautiful and it's perfect. But this one is like, you went from relationship to relationship to relationship, pointing fingers on women, saying they're just not ready, they're not committed, they're not willing to settle. It's like you made it to be the story of the women that you're attracting are not ready until you looked at the mirror and say there's one common denominator.
Well, to succinctly, it's not my TED Talk, but the reality when I talk about my work is that I did keep repeating the same pattern with different partners. Doesn't matter who they are. We do the same patterns until we fix it because it's our way of being in relationship. And so if we mess relationship on number one up, we're going to do the same thing number two, number three, because it doesn't matter who the partner is. It's us that needs to do the work. Absolutely.
Right. And we rehearse the pain and we avoid the same things. And we perpetuate the same things, and we doubt and anticipate the same things. Yeah, and so like when you gave that speech about like you thought it was just that they weren't committed, they weren't ready, they're not willing to settle. The things that we believe about as to why people don't settle, and realizing that wait a minute, like there's one common denominator in all of these relationships. It's me. And looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, okay, like I forgot how you actually landed that, but I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you could try to teach that to people 1,000 different ways and it will not land the way it lands because you were vulnerable, because you said it to be your story and how you were so focus on it's someone else's problem until you realize you're the common denominator. And Barry, I look forward to you being such a voice, such an influence in creating positive relationships, in people breaking the cycle of repeating the relationships they do not want. And so
Yep.
tell us, how can, give us some tips so that they walk away with something to start with. If they're repeating patterns in their relationship, what are some of the tips, in addition to finding Barry Selby, to be able to kind of get themselves started?
Well, the simple thing is, it doesn't matter how many partners you have, your relationship won't improve until you work on yourself. You cannot love somebody more than you can love yourself. It's the biggest mistake people make. Think, well, I find the next person, they'll make me feel better. But if you keep looking for somebody else to make you feel better, you become a slave to their puppetry, because they are now in a codependent relationship. You are now in a codependent relationship. So it really is about doing the work inside. Loving yourself, as trite as that sounds, is one of the cornerstones of being a better partner in a relationship, because then you don't rely on your partner to make you feel better all the time. You actually become whole and happy who you are. Because a healthy relationship, as I've said many times, people think a perfect relationship is when two partners face each other nose to nose, face to face. The problem is you can't see where you're going when you do that. A healthy relationship is two partners side by side facing the same direction. That's a healthy relationship. And for most people, they're afraid of that, because they'd rather be safe in a settled down relationship, the one that pushes them to the next level, to the next expansion, to the next growth. And the challenge, as I said earlier, is for a lot of men, because I know this myself, is we're not always willing to be flexible with our partners and to listen to them. We have a tendency as men to hear one thing and then go charging forward with it, because that's our natural gift. And our partner's like, you didn't hear what I said. And I know that's unfortunate. I'm not saying men are wrong, just saying the way we're wired, the way women are wired is different. And one of the challenges and one of the joys is discovering how different we are. So that's why I love doing the work I do.
I love this. I love this. In the beginning of this broadcast, the first day, we had John Gray. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Speak and talked about how his book took off and just took off to coachings and certifications, and he started coaching coaches to train on relationships. And it's amazing what you do, Barry. It's phenomenal. Like, it blows me away, because you think that it's a relationship coaching, and it's about having relationships with the right relationship with the right partner. But Barry has a twist to it. No, it's actually about you.
It's the longest relationship
right there.
Yeah.
That right there is how you know that he is a 40-year invested leader in personal development and training, including master's degree in spiritual psychology and over 20 years of spiritual counseling. That, is the reason why. It's because, you don't point a finger on the other person. Barry says, okay, you have challenges with your relationships. Let's start with you. So phenomenal. I love the work that you do, Barry. I do hope that your voice get heard a lot more in many places. I guess it's time to write your second book, publish your second book, and yet blow you up, because your strategy, your approach, the way you see the world is something that the world needs. And you said number one is heal yourself, and I think that's fundamental. Heal yourself, and you can only love others at the degree that you love yourself. So that's also fundamental, that you don't wait on the others. I'm going to share with you a perspective on how I learned this. Back in my I had a pastor's wife who is also like a psychologist and expert in relationship, and the way she said is the way we're created is like the Garden of Eden, and the Garden of Eden is created with a stream that comes from within, and it divides into 4 rivers that waters the rest of the earth, north, east, southwest. It comes from within, and it waters the face of the earth. It does not suck from the face of the earth so that they can water within, right? And humans work that way. We get to come from within and water our relationships, water our work, water our, whatever passion you have. If it's the other way around and we're sucking, trying to get affirmations from our partner, trying to get satisfaction from our job, trying to get, it doesn't work. Like there will never be enough water to quench your thirst if the water doesn't come from within. And that's the beauty of what I see about how you approach mastery in relationships, Barry. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, it's almost like the fact is you can fill your own cup up, but you try to get filled up from outside. It's like you have a hole in it. It just pours straight through. Because it's like until you fill up your own cup first, you can't take in any more. And it really is about us being contributors in love to receive the love we want.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Barry, because you are our closing keynote speaker, what would be, I would just give you the stage, whether it is in books, writing books, confidence, relationships. I'm going to give you the full stage and take us to where your intuition and your spiritual guide leads you to take our audience today.
Okay. I love being surprised with these ideas. Simply put,
it's a live interview.
Yeah. No, the longest relationship you'll ever have is one with yourself. So why not invest in it? The tendency we have when we don't heal ourselves and become whole and be happy and healthy is we tend to see what's wrong in other people when we don't look in the mirror. Basically, the term is called projections. But what we do is when we look at other people and go, well, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, it's because we're not saying, oh, where am I wrong? Where am I missing the point? So in any part of life, whether you're in a relationship or not, because you are the longest relationship you'll ever have, the one in the mirror, is put the time and investment in making right what you feel is wrong inside of you. Being happy, being whole, being loving, being kind. Frankly, being kind is one of the biggest things we can give other people. I have a commitment to service in my life, both in my spiritual community, but also in the world. And that's probably the most fulfilling thing I do in my life. And if you don't have a place you serve, one, you're missing out. And two, your life is not as complete as it could be. So by being of service, you give from your overflow, and it reminds you that you are abundant, that you're joyful, that you have more to give. And you'll be amazed at how many things come back to you by just simply giving that way.
That is a mic drop moment. So in closing, make sure you tag someone struggling in relationships, someone struggling in confidence in relationship with themselves. Make sure that you tag them. And Barry, how can people connect with you? How can people purchase your book? Remind us of what your book title is and how they can connect with you.
So book title again is 50 Ways to Love Your Lover. You can get it on Amazon, or you go to my website where I have my book available as a downloadable ebook or as a Kindle or as physical. So my site is my name, so barryselby.com. But if you go to the book page, all the information is there for the book. I also have a couple of quizzes if you're interested in knowing more about your relationship readiness and your relationship with yourself, because those are two things I think you have to work on. So if you want to find out more about that, go to my site. There are links there. All on social media, my name is on social media. So Barry Selby on YouTube, Facebook, etc. Except Instagram is The Real Barry Selby. But you find me everywhere. I do talk about love and relationships wherever I am.
So good. Like I said, your book is not really how did you write the book. It's like I feel like it's just an extension of who you are and your calling. So thank you for being who you are. And so my encouragement is, because this is Book Lovers Week, whatever it is that you are passionate about, write a book, because Barry Selby just shared about how the book opens up opportunities, opens up doors, opens up connections, for him. And how better else can you put your principles, some of the things that you hold dearly, into paper other than having it in the form of a book. And books come in different forms. Don't get me wrong. Like I just have someone a while ago, Tammy DeMirza, who's actually creating her video book. And so she's doing, per chapter, turning her book into a video. And of course, you already know Audible. And at the end of this broadcast, actually, this is going to end at the LA Tribune Film Festival. If you don't know that, Barry, you're in LA around that account. We have the LA Tribune Film Festival. 3 days of, it's going to be 14, 15, 16, 3 days and 3 nights of watching films that came from 24 different countries internationally. We have 10 to 33 entries. Lots of producers, lots of filmmakers, directors, movie actors, actress are going to be there. And we would love for you to join us. And it's a lot of opportunities for visibility, lots of opportunities for photos and networking with like the people at the highest level. And it is very, very generous how LA Tribune has priced it. Very $97 for 3 days to be in the film festival. So make sure that you visit latribunefilmfestival.com. And yes, book lovers and films. Yes, that's how it goes. Al is from Malaysia. One of our viewers and friends. One of these days, we're going to meet him, in Malaysia. He's always around. But Barry, thank you so much for being our closing relationship guru expert speaker of Day 4.
Thank you.
And I look forward to your voice, your books continuing to create massive impact. Relationships are important. Relationships are important. It's like one of those necessities. If it was COVID time, this is like a necessity. So make sure that you follow Barry Selby. And thank you so much. I'll see you later, Barry. So here you are, Day 4. Our last broadcast is tomorrow, Day 5. That's our last broadcast, because Day 6, we get to kind of summarize them together in one social media post for you, as we already start Day 1 of the LA Tribune Film Festival. And Day 7, which is because it's a global, a Book Lovers Week celebration. Day 7, the end of the Global Book Lovers celebration, is when we do our big press release of everyone that was on the program that we celebrated with. And also we get to celebrate books turning into films in the LA Tribune Film Festival. So we've got some documentaries, we've got some films that are being made in LA Tribune right now, The Pillars of Power, The Rise of the Lioness, that are actually rising entrepreneurs that have principles written in books, or they were ideas from books. Like, for example, The Pillars of Power is almost a remake of the Secret from 20 years ago when it releases next year. So it's so much opportunity to hang out with like the best people. LATribuneFilmFestival.com. Go back to the history of our LA Leadership Week with 1.3 million views from all around the world when we did LA Leadership Week last year. And of course, we are always aspiring to create greater and greater and greater heights. But that's going to be our closing today. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow on our last broadcast. Make sure that you nominate your book and nominate a book today. It's on the site, nominate a book. Running below, nominate a book that changed your life or your own book as an author at latribunebestseller.com. This is the service of LA Tribune, where we actually give the power back to the hands of the people to nominate a book that has changed their life, or to nominate their own book as an author, so that it could receive the visibility that they have desired for it to create. It is based on impact, not based on sale. So when your book is, it will qualify for a critical acclaim. And if it doesn't, you will have a report and a recommendation as to what are the things that you can do to be able to meet critical acclaim when you refile and republish. So with that, we look forward to seeing you on our last broadcast tomorrow. Nominate your book. We are going to continue to feature authors and books on a weekly basis when you nominate your book, and between articles and different things. As a matter of fact, I think now the greatest thing to actually share is the words from Mark Victor Hansen, 3-time Guinness World Record in publishing, including the most number of books sold in one time. I know the number of New York Times bestseller. I think he's had 31 New York Times bookseller at one time, and the number 1 books published by one single author. So here's this word about
aspiring authors. I love it. Absolutely. That's a Los Angeles Tribune best-selling book. So for aspiring authors, Mark and Crystal, or for individuals that are looking to get their book recognized, what is the significance of a Los Angeles Tribune best-selling author?
Well, there's only 2 lists left. It breaks my heart because the industry has been so good to me for 50 years. but USA Today is their book list, which I had 15 of the top 50 who you mentioned earlier, said, "Boy, you're hogging the list." I said, "No, we just sell more books than anybody alive." So they're gone, and then Wall Street Journal is gone. So you're, and I predict, as I have to you personally, Mo, because you and I are dear great friends, that you will become the #1 book list in the world because of the name. And we're just so thankful and touched that we made it to the top of your list.
Thank you, Mark. Love you. I appreciate you. Ms. Crystal, please.
No, what an honor. I mean, Mark's right. I just say ditto to everything he just said, because sadly, all of these important lists are disappearing. And the lists are important because people are looking for that recommendation. They're looking for the books that people are really loving, that are really, you know, changing lives, impacting lives, or just even entertaining people, that are just really good writing. So I am so thankful for this list, Mo, because I think Mark is spot on. You guys you are becoming the most, well, New York Times and you, I mean, it's all gone away, Wall Street Journal, everything. So congratulations to you for really making that a priority, because reading literature, books are so important. Books change the world.